Everybody, welcome back to another playthrough of Steins Zero, live and exclusive here to YouTube. For those of you who've never seen this channel before, it's all about live Let's Plays, bad jokes, live chat, and generally some good old-fashioned fun here on the evenings. For those of you who've been here before for the Steins OG and Steins Zero prelude episodes, maybe you'll hear all that persona, the Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, Final Fantasy 7, and a huge mound of Danganronpa, and many, many more. A colossal welcome back to all of you. Thank you very much. Yes, and we're going to pick things up right where we left it at the end of the last stream. We'd all just got together to have a nice, wonderful celebration. Everyone was dressed up in nice uniforms and cosplay outfits made by Mayashi, and everyone seemed to be having a whale of a time. Until Reading Steiner activated from absolutely nowhere. Who's responsible, how it's happened? The only way we're going to find out is we're getting deeper into the game. And for those of you out there watching live around the world at the moment, the chat box is open, so you can always get your comments in there, and I'll do what I can to get through them. But for now, let's go. For the first time in almost 4 months, I felt like the whole world was twisting. Who was it? Who had changed the world line? I didn't do anything. I hadn't interfered with the world. So why was the world doing this to me? What the hell? That looks like a badly smashed up cityscape. And it's raining and it... Okay, I didn't see that coming. I opened my eyes. Things had already taken on different colours. The world kept wavering, until once again it became fixed to a single point in time. I wasn't looking at a warm, cheerful party in the lab anymore. I was outside. It was raining. The rain was falling on my face, in drops so large that it hurt. So, ladies and gentlemen, he's been transferred to Scotland. Because anyone who's been to Scotland will tell you the rain up there hurts your face. Something about being so far north and the wind right in your grill. Hurts like absolute crazy. It was a midwinter rain. Freezing cold. And I could feel it sapping the strength from my body. We're still in Japan because there's a Toyota on the right, a Toyota Land Cruiser. Well, it says Moyoya, I think is what it says there, but it's actually a Toyota. Meanwhile, on the street, Chaotic Right jumping in saying hello, good evening to you, how are you doing? My view stopped twisting. I was staring at the broad back of a man I didn't know. I could hear the sound of many boots stamping through the mud, mingling with falling rain. The stench was terrible. The smell of sewage was so strong it hurt to breathe, and it was mixed with the awful smell of burning rubber and plastic. Sewage, burning rubber and plastic. There's an appetizing cocktail for you all to get your nostrils around. Drink it in, people. Drink it in. Where was I? What was I doing right now? Things around me had changed so much. I tried to understand the situation I was in, but my brain was having an awful time keeping up. We're almost there. Hang in there. When I stopped, a rough hand patted me on the shoulder encouragingly. I looked around to see a man my age, with a strong, powerful face. So has somehow Okabe ended up in the destroyed future here? Because that's what it's suggesting. I'm intrigued now, because we actually literally have no idea where in time we are. It was a face I'd never seen. I didn't know him. Probably. The man was wearing the camo outfit and equipment I'd often seen the self-defense force wear on the news. He was carrying an assault rifle on his shoulder. As you say, Chaotic, yeah, everything's fine. All of a sudden, a nice party, and the next thing, suddenly, the world's gone to hell. Everyone's carrying guns on the shoulders. There were 7 or 8 people around me, all dressed the same. They surrounded me in a circular formation and walked forward silently, as they kept a careful eye on the area around them. So, they know who Okabe is, and Okabe essentially is the VIP. They formed literally the ring of steel around him. They're taking him to do something, and obviously he has no idea what the hell it is or where the hell he is. Are these people the self-defense force? And then I realized I was wearing the same camo uniform they were. I'm in the SDF too? I touched my bicep to my cheek, but there was no muscle. It was flabby and weak. Unlike the others, I wasn't carrying any weapons. Then what was going on here? It felt like these 7 or 8 tough-looking SDF guys were all guarding me. I'm assuming so, Chaotic. That's certainly what it sounds like. He's dressed in the same uniform, they're all stood around, and they've all got the guns primed and ready to defend. So it suggests they know who he is and what he does, but the problem he's got is he's no idea where the hell he is or how he got here. Since when was I that important? Still confused, I dragged myself onwards. Where was I, anyway? It was a long path filled with dark brown mud. Well, more like floodwaters from what we can see in the art direction, but I'll take your word for it, Okabe. The walls formed a tall silhouette to the left and right. The path was filled with garbage and concrete rubble, and sometimes we had to force our way past it. I looked up past the high walls. Despite the rain, the moon in the night sky was strangely red and a little too bright. So we now entered the world of Castlevania, the Red Moon. Is Alucard suddenly dash through the wall? I'd be okay with that, by the way. Castlevania's awesome. It was thanks to the moon that we were able to walk down a path like this without flashlights. Huh? It's an interesting point, Chaotic. Yeah, if it had kept the phone wave around, at least there had some kind of go-to. But having said that, we don't know what changed where we are. For all we know, we could be 30 years in the future and it's long been captured by CERN. We just have to keep on going. Sound. I heard a sound. It was the sound of water. Well, you're in the rain. Why is that a surprise? That's like hearing the sound of wind when you're in a storm. I looked over and saw a hole opened in one of the walls. Filthy water was pouring out. The water formed dozens of little rivers that blocked our path. So that was it. This was the bottom of a river that had dried up. What looked like high walls were the river dikes. Where are we? I turned towards the man who had spoken to me a little while ago, and yelled so that my voice could be heard over the rain. Don't make any loud noises! Oh, sorry. Well, you say the CERN world line was a dystopia from the one we saw, but who knows if CERN got their acts on things, and then there was a resistance, kind of like Shinra in Final Fantasy when you think about it. They had an army. The same thing could have happened with CERN. What if the Rounders became like an actual army kind of thing? But as you say, if it's red sky, it's potential that nukes have gone off. Although I also was a black sky if the nukes went off. They always imagined it would be like a nuclear winter. We're almost through the city centre. If we can make it to Narima Garrison, there'll be a car waiting for you. So just keep walking. But his words cut off right there. Everyone seemed more tense than ever. One of them grabbed me and pushed me towards the side of the riverbed. Everyone put their backs against the wall and held their breath. I could hear the sound of a helicopter's rotors in the distance. No, more than one. They were getting closer. I had no idea what was going on, but I could feel my heart start to beat faster. Get in the shadow of that car! Past several meters of rubble laid an overturned car. It must have fallen into the riverbed after the water had disappeared. The entire body was bent inward, and the roof was completely crushed. I lay down in the stinking mud and slid into the shadow of the overturned car. At the same time, the SDF soldiers were issuing each other orders, as if this was something they'd planned for already. 2 of them stayed by my side, and everyone else ran back the way we'd come. They all climbed up crevices and outcroppings on the wall, then disappeared over the edge of the dike and out of view. Wow, that sounds like the First World War, doesn't it? Going over the top into the battlefields. I wonder if that's an intentional comparison that they come up with there. Shortly after, those were gunshots, and not just a single shot from a handgun or anything like that. This was the sound of war. I could hear the helicopters get further away, drawn by the gunfire. Oh no. In this world line, was Japan at war? The Third World War. I remembered Suzuha's words. I happened to look inside the crushed car. I could see the corpses of a man, a woman, and a small child hanging upside down, still attached to their seatbelts. Oh. Oh god, oh. Now that is a horrible thing to imagine to come across. Oh, how long had they been there? Oh, I don't want to know. Don't show it, please, do not show it. They were all covered in dried black blood. They looked like mannequins at a bad haunted house. Oh! It's compared real corpses to bad haunted house props. Damn, that's desensitization. Wow. And you don't think you travel to the future, Chaotic? I wonder what would have happened then if they'd gone through the world line. What would have triggered the war? That's the key thing. I'm trying to think what could have possibly triggered it. And then I realised I'd been so focused on moving forward that I hadn't noticed what they were. But I'd seen similar mannequins sunk into the mud. I could see their arms, the bones, and ragged muscle exposed to the air, reaching up to the sky as if seeking salvation. Yep, he's literally walking through a graveyard. A minefield. I mean, looking at the walls, I mean, the president of Toyota suggests it's probably still Japan, but the deliberately vague buildings at the back here are supposed they could be Cyrillic, so it could be Russia. And that'd be a first, because the game's never left Japan before, to my knowledge. I put my hand over my mouth to stifle a scream. Those weren't mannequins. Now, get along the side of the wall and move! Huh? We're changing the route. Come on, stand up! He pulled me up. My knees were shaking from shock and exhaustion. And I'll say Russia could be a reason, because obviously they got the, in one timeline, didn't they get the machine first and the Americans then got involved? So it's a question as to what's happened. Well, there you go. The Soviet helicopters. It is Russia. Congratulations, Caltech. The others are drawing away the Soviet helicopters, but that won't last long. Hurry! Go on then, let's see what it's got for Soviet. Yep, the Soviet Union. It's a long history about the Soviet Union. Soviet Socialist Republic was created in 1922. At the end of the Second World War, it began a long Cold War with America, but it ended in 1991. Consisted of Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, Moldova, Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. The Soviet Union! And of course, ended in 1991. On this timeline, it obviously didn't, because of the Soviet helicopters, the Soviet Union survived. My mind was dulled from the terror, but it seemed like there was something off about what he just said. Meanwhile, good evening, Mr. Jack. You've arrived at a very bleak point in the timeline, I'm afraid. We are officially, apparently, at war. That's not where we expected Reading Steiner to take us. Get a hold of yourself! Do you know how many people have died to protect you? And Chaotic, that's a very good theory. And Russia did a thing we don't know what, and that's caused the world line to shift. You raise a fair point. That would suggest recovering either the original document or taking Nakabachi seriously. Because don't forget, Okabe said that Nakabachi's theory was right, but in this timeline it was ridiculed and rejected. If someone went back in time to make it so that he was taken seriously, the Soviets would get, well, the Russians rather than the Soviets, would get the time machine. And it apparently, Alistair Jack, we think it might be World War III. It's at least a war of some kind. Protect me? Why?
理由は聞かされていません。でも、命を懸けて守れと自分は命じられています。それがこの国の未来につながるのだと。
We haven't been told why, but we were told to lay down our lives for you if we had to, and that you could change this country's future. A helicopter passed over the riverbed. The bright searchlight passed by for a moment, but thankfully, the shadow of the dike hid us. This way! The young SDF soldier, whose name I didn't even know, pulled me inside one of the holes in the concrete. When I looked closely, I could see that it was the entrance to a sewer. Oh, game, no, don't do a sewer level! Please don't do a sewer level! I hate sewer levels! Sewer levels annoy me! I hate them! It was just big enough for a single person to pass through. Strung against the flow of water that came up to my knees, I pressed on through the darkness. My sense of smell had already gone numb, so I didn't have to worry about the stench of the sewage. Take the positives, I suppose, people? Take the positives? And that's true, actually, Chaotic. Yeah, at least we don't have to actually navigate it, unlike many of the other sewer levels. And to be fair, one of the Danganronpa games had an excellent sewer level, actually. And so did Mirror's Edge, the original Mirror's Edge. So they're not all bad, but most of them suck. Once inside, we came to several branching paths. The SDF soldiers seemed to know which one would lead where, and they marched on without hesitation. And then we came out of the sewer and back into a riverbed. Oh, that was the shortest sewer level in history. Thanks, game creators. I owe you one. That's fantastic. That's a proper sewer level. In and out, no messing about. It was dried up, just like the one we'd been through. I didn't know if it was the same river, or if another one, and the two soldiers didn't tell me. Either way, I was glad to be finally out of the foul-smelling darkness, and I tried to take a deep breath and fill my lungs with fresh air. Sorry Okabe, but I don't think the air looks that fresh there. Might just be me, but you hardly stood in a nice meadow in the middle of Yorkshire now, are you? Although to be fair, the air's not that fresh there either, now I think about it. Oh! Says a man who lives in Yorkshire. But... halfway through, I realised that the riverbed smelled even worse than the sewer. I took an involuntary step back and then another. Called it! Told him the air wasn't that fresh. The sight in front of me was just that terrible. What was once a riverbed was now filled with bodies. Some of them had been burnt totally black, so it was impossible to tell how much death lay before me. And in the distance, I could see what looked like bonfires. They were burning despite the rain. Lit with napalm, maybe? It's possible. The fires were consuming the mountains of flesh that were once human bodies.
もうすぐです。きついでしょうが、走れますか?
We're almost there! I know it's rough, but can you run? Yeah. The SDF soldier spoke to me, and then I came back to my senses. If it weren't for these two, I wouldn't have been able to stay sane. Questionable if you ever were in the first place, really, Okabe, but that's just me. And it would make sense, wouldn't it, Chaotic, that the sky's kind of like reflecting the hue of the flames, especially if it's burning despite the rain. Suggests that, let's say, it's like either a napalm or a white phosphorus kind of, something like that that's really going to burn for a long time. Burn very, very hot. We ran through the riverbed, one of them in front of me and the other behind. I could hear the constant drone of the helicopters above me. Sometimes the searchlights got very close. Each time they did, I hid in the piles of bodies until they passed. Oh, damn it. I've heard of that as a strategy on the battlefield, but that must be horrible. Literally lying down and shielding amongst the corpse. Ooh. Good bear thinking about. I'd seen this many times before as I'd wandered through the world lines. I'd seen death. I'd seen the moments when people had died. But at the same time, I'd never experienced what happened to a dead person after they were left out for a long time. More than fear, more than sorrow, the thing that hit me first was the smell of death. The rotting stench ate away at my body, not my soul. My whole body was rejecting it. It made me feel sick. Thinking that way meant trampling on the dignity of the dead, but I couldn't help it. The Valley of Hinnom. I remembered that phrase. That was what that strange attacker had said that night, when they came after Dr. Leskinen, Maho, and me. It's better for you to enter life with one eye than to have two eyes and be thrown into the Valley of Hinnom. And yeah, this is way grimmer than I expected, this opening. I did not expect this. That valley was the origin of the word Gehenna, meaning hell. It was said that flames burn there every night, scorching the heavens themselves. Those who died merciless deaths with anger or misery in their hearts were flung into the flames, their souls becoming black smoke that rained hatred down on the land. Kind of like the anti-vaxxers at the moment with COVID-19. Too soon? Yeah, probably too soon. What I stared at now was Gehenna. The two soldiers led me to a half-collapsed subway tunnel. The lights were all off because there was no electricity, but there were 3 armoured cars in camo colours, with their headlights on to illuminate the way. They were 4-wheel drive, off-road vehicles covered in thick chunks of armour, but I didn't see any real weapons.
ここから地下鉄内を通って埼玉へ抜けられます。入間基地はまだ無事と聞いています。そこまで行けば関東を脱出できるはずです。
You can take the subway route to escape to Saitama. I hear it's still safe at Iruma Base. If you can get that far, you should be able to escape Kanto. Now, Saitama is a district on the outskirts of Tokyo, so this game is very much still in Japan. We have not migrated to Russia, that one thing I can confirm. So, on to Saitama and Iruma Base. I don't think it's an intentional reference, but that references a character Dong from Danganronpa V3.
関東脱出
I doubt it is though, because I'm sure this game came out a couple of years before V3, so I don't think it's a direct reference, it's just coincidence. Escape Kanto?
話は向こうで聞いてください。とにかく急いで。
Let's talk about it! For now, just hurry! There were a lot of things I wanted to ask, but even as we spoke I heard what sounded like gunshots outside the tunnel. The men forced me into the back seat of one of the cars.
それではご無事を祈っております。
Goodbye. I'll be praying for your safety.
あなた方は
What about you guys?
自分たちには別の任務がありますので。では。
We have another mission to carry out. Farewell. The two soldiers who had brought me here saluted, then turned around and left the station. I felt like I was never going to see them again. The door of the armoured car slammed shut with a heavy thud. The car's crew were SDF soldiers, just a little older than me. The diesel engine kicked to life, and the car raced down a tunnel that had originally been designed for trains. Of course, it wasn't a pleasant ride at all, but I didn't have any choice. There was no way I could tell them I wanted to go to Akihabara. I had no way to alter the world line. I had to survive in this hellish world. And to survive, I needed to do what they said. My wants didn't matter at all. I wasn't even allowed to express them. I just did as they told me and ran. It was all I could do. But I had no idea that it would take an entire month. An entire month? Oh, okay. Right, it seems we've got a text thread here, so let's take a quick look at this. Yeah, the story so far. The USSR starts experimenting with the time machine and America goes apeshit. Give me that time machine, USSR! But I refuse! Yes, typical of the At channel, they reference JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Eastern powers the Soviets get cocky. How's it feel to you be right now, huh? How's it feel? This brings us to the end of your regular scheduled Cold War. US, I'm gonna bomb you for Japan, or? Then we'll invade Japan! Oh shit! USSR is kicking ass. Hokkaido and Northeast Japan are screwed. Are they coming for Central Japan now? People of Nagoya, get the fuck out! Amateurs who know nothing about strategy to shut the fuck up. The SDF may look like they're retreating, but they've actually got a defense line at Mount Fuji. They're about to start a counterattack. The Mount Fuji line. Who the hell is dumb enough to bully Japanese Imperial High Command? You better not start hearing calls for kamikaze pilots soon. Shut up, noob! Idiots like you are the real threats of Japan! Wait, what happened to the collective right of self-defense? America's only interested in protecting Okinawa, so what the hell's SDF doing getting sent out to Siberia? How are they supposed to protect the country? You protected chicken hawk! You want to go fight? Go volunteer! They say they aren't going to get enough recruits. Are they going to start conscription soon, you think? What's the point of conscripting a bunch of fat otaku? They just get in the way! War these days requires professional soldiers. Says the fat otaku who doesn't want to go to war. There are barely any professional soldiers left in Japan. Our masters in America sent them all around the globe, and they're stuck in there. You guys will probably get your conscription notices soon. Good luck. I'm a chick, so I don't care. In other words, if we get a sex change, we don't have to go, right? The real enemies of Japan are its own citizens, huh, asshole? So seriously, are we going to be split up like Germany? I had a feeling it might have been low, but I wasn't quite sure, so I thought I'd just carry on. It's likely. They said there's a provisional East government forming in Okinawa. They're all set to abandon East Japan instead of America protect the West. Those incompetents of the government might honestly do it. Is this really the time to bash politicians? Traitorous shill! Traitor? Ugh, shill? Strategically, America can't let go of Okinawa, and Japan wants to keep some kind of government. That means making a provisional government in Okinawa is the best option. You bashed the hell of Okinawa up until now, and now you're telling me this? Shut up, traitor. So if I'm a traitor, what are you? If you post on Achan right now, that means you either fled the country or ran Okinawa. Is this the days you don't get to talk, Fred? Yeah, it certainly seems to be closer to being correct at the moment, Chaotic. It looks like that's it. And new tips added, okay. Ah, so he's gone to Okinawa. Yep, so here we are. Short version of Japanese word for laughter, warai. Supposedly it was first used in non-Japanese online game by adding W at the end of the sentence to place it in the middle. You can indicate you find the situation humorous. On anonymous internet message boards, by adding more W's, you can increase the amount of laughter if you're mocking an opponent. So yeah, bang on. It'd be interesting if that was the case, if the Soviets were trying to make their overall changes even more. And if both sides got time machines, they'd explain it. What's the okay then? Net slang that means okay. It's not net slang. And then the Iruma base, one of the air self-defense forces' largest bases, located between Iruma and Sayama cities in Saitama Prefecture, holds 18 units of around 4,300 personnel. Also the location of the Air Defense Command Headquarters Flight Group. The reason it took a month to get to Okinawa was that we were losing the war. Supposedly, the plan had been to ferry me by plane to Okinawa once I had arrived at Iruma base. But the constant bombing had slowed us down. So they gave up on the plane and decided I would escape to Kyushu by ground. There was more than one attack by Soviet spies and assault teams. Some of the SDF soldiers protecting me died. But when I got to Sasebo, I was able to get on a maritime SDF escort ship and managed to escape to Okinawa. Why were they doing this all for me? No matter how many times I asked, no one would answer. It does sound like it would be experimentation, and again, the winter's covered in thick clouds, so it's potential there has been something that's gone off, like, I just say, maybe nukes, maybe phosphorus bombs, you know, maybe napalm, who knows. Okinawa in winter was covered in thick clouds. Come to think of it, I hadn't seen a real break in the clouds for a whole month. I was thinking about that when I was loaded into a van with dark tinted windows that had come to pick me up from the port. Inside the car was not only the driver, but a middle-aged man sitting in the front passenger seat. He doesn't really look middle-aged to me. Then again, I suppose I count as middle-aged, and I'm not sure if I look middle-aged, so maybe I'm being unfair on the guy. He was very short, perhaps only around 150 centimeters tall. But he had the air of a military veteran, and even though he was fully dressed, I could tell he was extremely muscular.
Okabe Rintaro-kun da na.
Okabe Rintaro, correct?
私は防衛省中央情報保全隊の下山という。
I'm Shimoyama, with the Ministry of Defense's Intelligence Security Demand. They say, if there were... It does seem to suggest it's World War III if the Soviets have invaded Japan. Surely, because America would be obliged to go to war with Russia because they're obliged to defend Japan as part of the post-Second World War Treaty. That's my limited knowledge of that side of history, because I was focused more on the ones in Europe, obviously. Ministry of Defense. One of the central ministries of Japan. It manages and operates the self-defense forces. In 2007, it changed its name from the Defense Agency to the Ministry of Defense, which is confusing me right now because in Britain, we have the Ministry of Defense. We've had it for a long time. MOD for short, we call it.
これから空港に寄り道してから彼らの沖縄防衛局へ向かう。長旅で疲れているところ申し訳ないが、もうしばらく我慢してくれ。
We're going to make a stop at the airport and then head to the Okinawa Defense Bureau in Kadena. I'm sure you're tired from your long journey, but I'll have to ask you to hang in there a while longer.
はい。
Right. Oh, wow. Am I back in Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne here, people? Actually, no, that's not fair on Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne. Tokyo didn't look as bad as that in Nocturne. Tokyo looks worse here than in a post-apocalyptic JRPG with demons? Have I gone crazy? I'd heard that Tokyo had been destroyed. The major functions of the Japanese government were now headquartered out of the Okinawa Defense Bureau to allow for better cooperation with the American forces stationed nearby. That's what Shimayami explained to me. In other words, the place I was heading to was the core of Japan's defences. Once I arrived, would I understand why I was so important that all those soldiers were willing to die to protect me? If I'm right, waiting there is going to be Daru and trying to think who else is going to be waiting there. Daru's going to be waiting there. Ferris Nyanyam, I reckon she's going to be there. But they're all wizened and different, and they'll be surprised that it's still alive. The car stopped in front of Naha Airport for a while. So we got Naha Airport, which is an airport in Naha, Okinawa. Hub Airport of Okinawa. Home to the Air Self-Defense Force Naha Air Base. As of 2009, it's the 6th busiest airport in Japan. And then Okinawa Defense Bureau is one of 8 local defense bureaus in Japan. Its centre in Japanese Ministry of Defense in Okinawa. They say Miyuri, I'm unsure on whether she'll survived. That's why I didn't mention Mayashi. I'm unsure. Part of me says she would, because obviously we saw what happened with Kagari. But I don't know whether the world line shift will changed it. And as you say, core of America's defences, well, it'll still be core of their units. Whether it's their defence or not, I don't know. And then I saw a surprising pair get aboard. Oh! I did not expect Yuki and, I did not expect Yuki to turn up. That's a real surprise. And Fubuki as well.
Oh, Okabe. Wow, it's really Ocarine!
君たちはユキさんと中瀬さんじゃないか。
You're Yuki and Nakase. I wasn't expecting to see them there. But they were the first people I knew who I'd met since they'd come into this world line. That alone was almost enough to make me cry. Now don't forget I did say that Fubuki collapsed. I forgot about that. I'd forgot about that from the last, I even said it on the last stream. Fubuki, I believe, had reigning style, so it makes sense for her to be here. I didn't think she'd turn up this early. I thought she'd turn up later. I'm actually kind of surprised. That alone was almost enough to make me cry. But still, I couldn't just sit there and be happy.
マユリの行方を知らないか。
What about Miyuri? Do you know where she is?
大丈夫です。
She's fine.
Yuki nodded, as if trying to make me feel better.
さっきまで一緒だったんです。
She was just with us.
一緒だった。
Just with you?
そうなんですよ。まゆしーでしょ。ルミホちゃんでしょ。ルカ君、楓ちゃん。
Oh well, so everyone but Daru, it would seem. I was completely wrong. Everybody but Daru's turned up.
That's right. Mayashi and Rumiho and Luca and Kaede.
今朝空港に着いて、みんな防衛局というところで保護してもらえるというので待っていたんですが。
We got to the airport this morning. We were all waiting because they said we could go to some place called the Defense Bureau, where we'd be safe.
Yeah, as you say, because Fubuki collapsed, that's the interesting point, isn't it, Chaotic? It's interesting, because, like, unless it's something to do with experience of reading Steiner, maybe? Because Okabe's experienced it that much, he became kind of half numb to it, mostly. Until he stopped using the phone wave, of course. But as for what happened to Daru, I don't know, because he's the only one who's not showed up. I mean, like, Maki, we also not had word of what happened to Dr. Leskinen or to Maho either. So those 3 people, they're the ones that were unaccounted for. As for Makise and AI Makise, who knows?
さっき急に私と吹雪ちゃんだけ先に連れて行くと言われて。
They just said they'd take Fubuki and me there first.
それでこの車に乗せられたらオカリンさんがいたってわけ。
And then they had us get inside this car, where we found you.
とにかくみんなが無事でよかった。
His first time in the other world line, yeah, but not in this world line. What I'm saying is that in this world line, it crossed the lines that many times that even though he'd not used it, his body was still used to it. So even though he hadn't actually actively been using it enough for him to know exactly where he's gone each time, he was able to take it more physically. That's my theory anyway. It's just a theory. And it's probably going to be wrong. Anyway, I'm glad everybody's safe. Since Daru and Suzuha weren't mentioned, I was going to ask about them, but...
すまないが、積もる話は後にしてもらっていいだろうか。
Sorry, but can you talk about this later? Shimayama cut me off, and the car started moving.
沖縄防衛局には君たちのご家族もいずれ到着する予定だ。すでに我々の方で保護はしている。
The plan is for your families to arrive at the Okinawa Defense Bureau eventually. We already have them under our protection.
本当ですか？よかった。
Really? I'm so glad.
別行動になったお友達の皆さんもすぐ後ろの車に乗っている。離れ離れになるわけではないから安心していい。
Your other friends are all in the car behind us. You haven't been separated, so don't worry. I took a quick look and saw another identical van a little behind us. So Mayuri and the others were there.
じゃあ後でまた会えるんですね。
Then we'll see them later, right?
もちろんだ。
Of course. Well, that's the thing, Chaotic. Daru might not be with them, but it doesn't mean he doesn't survive. Let's not forget, Suzuha was also there first. So, with Suzuha protecting her daddy, I mean, is there anybody else who would protect him better than her? No. I don't think there is. I was just on the edge of undrinkable then. Right on the cusp. And this time I remember my water, so I shouldn't have to break the stream up. Yuki let out a sigh of relief. But then I started to wonder about something else. Why are we split into different cars? This van could hold at least another 3 people. If we were squeezed tight, it could easily hold everyone. Or was there some reason they put me, Yuki, and Fubuki into the same car? The car drove alongside the Okinawa monorail for quite a while, and then went south down a wide bypass.
暗いな。
It's so dark.
何です？
Huh? What was that?
いや、こんなに店が並んでるのに、どこも真っ暗だから。
Nothing, just... There are all these stores, but they're all dark. There were lots of franchise restaurants, big supermarkets, cafeterias for tourists, and rent-a-car places all jammed together along the side of the road. But all of them were dead silent, and their lights were turned off. Barely any of the streetlights were turned on, and the only cars were Japanese and US military vehicles. I didn't see anyone out walking. I'm kinda not really surprised. We're at war. You don't want to be walking around in case someone, I don't know, shoots you or bombs you. Then again, let me cut this guy some credit. He's not been in a war.
10日間制と午後5時以降の外出禁止令が出ているんだ。
There's a blackout in effect, as well as a curfew past 5 p.m.
沖縄なら安全とは言ってもね、戦時下なんだよ。以前のようにはいかない。
Okinawa may be safe, but this is still wartime. Things can't be like they were.
早く戦争など終わって元に戻ってほしいものだ。
I can't wait for the war to end, and everything to go back to normal. Every time I see back to normal, I think about the current situation. It always makes me laugh. Game, how did you know? Seriously. And yes, they are indeed in Okinawa. They said that earlier on. If I go to the hints, I can explain it. So you've got the Okinawa monorail. So we're talking about the Okinawa monorail. Apparently operating as of 2011, runs 13 Ks between Naha Airport and Shuri Castle. And if I go to the ones that have already been, like, there's a couple that have been unread, which I'm going to quickly get off so I can review them. And then we've got them all down here. What about the Soviet Union, Surge Response, Line, and then finally Okinawa Monorail, Okinawa Defense Bureau. Wartime, huh?
なあ岡部君、君の知っている沖縄は夜遅くまでもっと明るくて楽しい場所だったろ。
Tell me, Okabe. The Okinawa you knew was a bright, fun place, even at night, wasn't it?
どうでしょう。俺は沖縄は初めてなので。
Oh, I wouldn't know. I've never been to Okinawa before.
それはもったいないな。なら次は楽しい旅行で来られることを祈っているよ。ここは本当にいい島だ。
That's a shame. Then I pray you get to come back for a good vacation sometime. This really is a nice island. The car headed up from the bypass over a land bridge, and then to another road. We quickly came to a long tunnel.
実は3人に防衛局に着く前に少しだけ質問をしたくてな。それでこうして同乗してもらった。
I actually wanted to ask the three of you some questions before we got to the bureau. That's why I have you riding with me.
Huh?
My guess was right. That meant there was something he wanted to ask just the three of us. But why us three? I wasn't particularly close to Yuki or Fubuki. I'd only even started talking to them a few months ago. And then I shook my head. That was before the world line changed. Maybe things were different in this world line. I had no idea what my relationship was to anyone else in this world line. Since the SDF had been treating me so well, I didn't want to make Shimayama suspicious. As you say, Chaos, that the Cold War makes perfect sense, because if the treaties from the Second World War held up, even during the Cold War, America would have been obliged to defend Japan, despite Japan, because especially the Japans and the Russians hated each other in the Second World War, didn't they? So it makes sense for the Russians to come after the Japanese. I decided it was best to leave most of the talking to Yuki and Fubuki.
Amane Yuki-san.
Hermane Yuki.
Yes?
Shimayama spoke to Yuki first. Yuki went stiff when her name was called. I could feel it even sitting next to her.
君は橋田至君とその妹さんがどこにいるか知らないだろうか。
Boom! They kept the consistency. Not only is Suzuha still in the timeline, they still know her as his younger sister. That's really interesting. That relationship's crossed the world line. You don't know where Hashida Ritaru and his little sister are, do you? Little sister? That must be Suzuha. That would mean that even in this world line, Suzuha had come from the future and gotten to know Yuki and the others while pretending to be Daru's sister. Why does it say Suzuha's sister? She got to know everyone by pretending to be a sister of herself. Wow, that's a horrible mistranslation. And the SDF evidently didn't know where Daru and Suzuha were.
いえ、私は。
No,
Yuki fell silent and glanced over to me, as if expecting help. But I didn't know where they were either. I didn't even have any memories of this world line, so I had no way of answering. But Yuki's attitude bothered me. It was as if she knew where they were and was deliberately hiding it, and that I was supposed to be hiding it too. I couldn't figure it out. I'm sure Shimayama could too. A strange tension filled the car. Yuki was trying to hide it. From who?
知らないかな?
You're sure you don't know? Shimayama turned around from the front passenger seat and asked again.
すみません。
I'm sorry.
Yuki bowed her head in apology.
でも君は橋田君とかなり親しいお付き合いをしているんだよね。恋人に何の連絡もないというのは。
Meanwhile, Avian jumping in the chat saying, "Hi, good evening to you. If you've not been watching this, it's a very surprising twist. The New World line has really gone to shit. That's all I'm gonna say. But you were very close to him, weren't you? You were his lover, and yet you heard nothing?
携帯電話なんてもう使い物になってないじゃないですか。
You know that cell phones don't work anymore, right?
連絡方法なら携帯以外にもいくらでもある。
There are plenty of ways to get in touch with someone besides a cell phone.
でも本当に何も。
But I really don't.
And yes, sure, I call that as well, Chaotic. They are actually lovers here. So it's almost like the world line shifted, yet certain things have carried over and gone further. Let's not forget, this is a month on. Slight spoiler, Evian, I do apologise, but I need to get that out of the way. A month has passed. So something has obviously happened after that Christmas day. The question is, what? Aside from chaos.
妹さんからも
Nothing from his sister, either?
はい。
Nothing.
And that's no worry, Evian. I appreciate being busy. It's been like that for me all week at work.
時に岡部君は橋田君と何か研究をしていたらしいね。
By the way, I'm told you were researching something with Hashida, Okabe. Oh, Wildcat, when you like to watch things at 1.5 speed. I don't want to imagine what my voice sounds like at 1.5 speed. I really don't. Especially when I go into my mad rants. If anyone dares make that as a video and put it on YouTube as a compilation, I'm going to find them, rip off their arm and beat them to death with a wet end. Actually, no, I won't. I've no way of doing that. Huh? I wasn't sure how to react when the conversation suddenly turned towards me. Researching? Researching what? Uh-oh. If I panic, I'll make them
ど
suspicious.
んな研究をしていたんだね。
What were you researching? I would just have to give him the most harmless answers I could.
研究というよりなんていうかちょっとした発明のアイデアというか
It wasn't really research. It was more like inventions.
発明
Inventions?
竹とんぼに CCD カメラをつけて空撮ができないかとか
Like whether you could attach a CCD camera to a bamboo copter to do aerial photography. CCD capture is a charge-coupled device. Camera that uses semiconductors. In normal parlance, the term refers to any extremely small camera. Okay. And when they tried to reconstruct the microwave, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Try and recreate the phone wave. Name subject to change.
掃除機の排気をドライヤー代わりにしてみるとか
Or whether you could use the heat from a vacuum cleaner as a hairdryer.
ほう、なかなか面白いね。
Oh, that's interesting. I'm not sure it's really that interesting, but I dig where you're coming from because it's so unusual game. And apologies, I just had to briefly sort my glasses out. My headphones were pressing the stalks in a bad way.
それじゃ何かとんでもないものを作っていて、それを知られないために我々から逃げたというわけではないんだね。
Then you weren't, say, making something unbelievable and running away from us so that we wouldn't find out what it was? If he was running away, why would he be walking with you when you didn't have him cuffed? Am I the only one seeing this?
逃げた
Running away? Damn, I responded. That was a mistake. But did that mean that Daru and Suzuha were hiding from the SDF amidst all this chaos? The SDF had risked their lives to protect me over the past month. Shouldn't I be asking them for help? I got even more confused.
知らないのならいいんだ。橋田君たちのことは保留にしておこ
If you don't know, then that's fine. We'll talk about Hashida and his sister some other time. Somebody, please tell me what the right answer is. How am I supposed to respond
う。
here?
中瀬克美さん、君には別に聞きたいことがあるんだ。
Nakase Katsumi. There was something else I wanted to ask you.
私
Me?
This time it was Sabuki's turn to jump in her seat.
いやいや、そんなに緊張しなくていい。大したことじゃない。
No, no, don't get so nervous. It's nothing big. Please don't creep on her, mystery middle-aged guy. Please don't. Yeah, I suppose he could have been running away before the Okabe we know took over the body, except he was literally in the middle of a circle surrounded by 8, so... If that's an instantaneous switch, that doesn't make any sense. Well, so Shimeyama said, but Fubuki was clearly starting to get scared. Her reaction was strange. It was too strong. Maybe the self-defense forces weren't simply protecting us. For one thing, there was no way normal civilians like us merited such important treatment. But then what were they after? No, I could guess. The time machine. This war started with Russia's time machine experiments. And of course, Nakabachi was involved. I learned from some of the soldiers that even in this world line, he'd sought asylum in Russia. And Suzuha was a time traveler from the year 2036. If Suzuha was here in this era, that meant it was Daru who made the time machine that brought her here. If you had a time machine, you could change the outcome of this war. It would make sense if that's what the Japanese government thought, and if that was why they were trying to capture Daru, Suzuha, and their friends. Once I realized that, the whole situation started to feel terrifying to me. Was this car really headed towards the Okinawa Defense Bureau? And if it was, were they really going to keep us safe there?
先週、中瀬さんに受けてもらった健康診断なんだが。
About the physical you underwent last week. Is she doing the reverse of Lukaku?
何か悪いところでも見つかったんですか?
Was this some problem?
いや、東京で怪我をした傷も治りかけているし、体調には問題はない。ただ、ストレスがひどいようだね。
No. You've almost recovered from the wounds you've sustained in Tokyo, and health-wise, you're fine. But you're under a lot of stress.
Oh,
まあ無理もない。あれだけひどい空襲をくぐり抜けてきたんだ。今やほとんどの民間人に PTSD があると言ってもいい。
Well, it's not surprising. You survived the terrible bombing. It's no exaggeration to say that most civilians have a condition right now. I don't want to say it because I don't like generalized statements to say that it comes across in those kind of events only, so that's the reason I'm not saying that condition. That's the only reason. Yeah, that's the point, Chaotic. Advanced interrogation techniques. I really hope not.
ただ君の場合、他の人とは少し違うようだ。
But it seems that your symptoms are a little different than most people's.
随分とリアルな夢を見たりするとか。
You have very realistic dreams, for example.
ひどい時には白チュームというのかな。現実と夢の区別がつかなくなることもあると聞いた。
In particular severe circumstances, they could almost be called waking dreams. I'm told at times you lose the ability to tell the difference between dreams and reality. Yeah, story of my life, mate, that's me. I'm currently believing in broadcasting to 500,000 people and being paid 10 grand an hour. Oh wait, no. I'm not a certain streamer who begs his audience. No names mentioned.
だから、それが PTSD ってことじゃないんですか?
isn't that just a condition, though?
Fubuki was too scared to speak, so Yuki interrupted curtly. It was rare to see Yuki act like this. It makes sense, Chaotic, that his reading started more powerful. It's had more use. It's gone across more world lines. At least we think it has. We don't know if Fubuki at the same time was travelling either. Bear that in mind. If nothing else, I'd never seen it before. It was plain now. Yuki didn't trust Shimamaya. In fact, she considered him an enemy.
いや、それが実に奇妙な話なんだが。
No, it's very strange. Shimayama paused for a moment for effect and rubbed his chin.
中瀬さんと非常によく似た白チュームを見る人たちがいる。しかも一人や二人じゃない。
There are others who say they have very similar dreams. And not just one or two.
What?
もちろん程度の差はあるが、国内だけでもすでに十数名ほど見つかっている。
Of course, the degree to which they suffer from this problem changes, but we found more than 10 in Japan alone.
どうやら海外にもいるようだ。まあ、西側諸国の情報しかないがね。
They exist in other countries too. Well, we've only got information from the West.
そんなのただの偶然じゃ。
That's just a coincidence, isn't it? Fubuki was incredibly frightened, so I spoke in her place.
プーシンを知っているだろ？
You've heard of Pushin, right? No, I can't say I have. Ah, it's Putin. Of course. Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin. From 2008 was the second president of Russia. And in 2008 became its prime minister, a former KGB agent. And again, it makes sense, doesn't it, Cal, at different levels of reading Steiner. It makes sense. And then there's that, which I'm not going to read because I don't want to trivialise the condition. Suddenly, Shimayama turned his gaze towards me and asked a question.
プーシン
Pushin?
ソ連の書記長ですよね。
The Soviet Secretary General, right? I almost said the President of Russia, but managed to stop myself. The Soviet Union still existed in this world line. Putin's title was General Secretary, not President. I'd heard that during my time at Iruma.
そう。だが、中瀬さんは興味深いことに、プーシンがロシアの大統領だと答えたとか。
Correct. But interestingly enough, Nakase referred to him as the President of Russia.
What?
すみません。なんか寝ぼけてたんです。それに私、勉強とか全然ダメで。
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I'm not really what you'd call a good student.
And I agree, it's a lame way around any kind of copyright, isn't it? It's so lame. It's typical of anime, don't get me wrong, but it's lame as hell.
いや、そうじゃない。白チュームを見る人たちの特徴の一つなんだ。皆一様にそう口にする。プーシン大統領とね。
No, that's not it. It's one of the strange things about all the people who have these dreams. They call him President Putin.
ゴリバチョフやレリツィンのことも
Oh.
大統領と呼ぶものばかりだ。
And they all call Gorbachev and Yeltsin presidents too. Yes, that's who that's going to be, but let's get confirmation. Yep, Boris Nikolaevich Yeltsin, a former USSR politician. After the fall of the Soviet Union, became the first president of the Federation in its prime minister, died in 2007. And then Mikhail Sergeyevich Gorbachev, in other words, Gorbachev, General Secretary of the Soviet Communist Party, last leader of the USSR. He executed the Perestroika plan and brought the Cold War to an end.
そのおかげで研究者たちは陰で大統領病とか呼んでるそうだが、センスのないネーミングだな。
That's why the scientists have started calling it President's Disease. Not a terribly clever name, if you ask me.
No way. Is he talking about reading Steiner?
There was a strong chance that people besides me had that power, even if not as acutely. I'd never found out for sure, but what Ferris had said in the Alpha War line certainly suggested it. So it was certainly possible that Shimamama's waking dreams were actually the effects of reading Steiner. If they were all aware of the world line shift a month ago, just like me, if Fubuki had the same memories of the other world line that I had, it would make perfect sense that she called Putin a president.
ゴリバチョフ、レリツィン。
Gorbachev? Yeltsin?
知らないのかね？世界史の授業でやっただろう。
You don't know them. Didn't they teach that in world history?
私高校時代からずっと理系だったもので。
I only took science classes in high school.
常識だと思っていたが、今の若い子は知らないのか。最近の学生がここまで不勉強とはね。
I thought everyone knew about them. Do kids today not know who they are? I find it hard to believe you're all that ignorant. I don't. Apparently 40% of British students believe that Winston Churchill's a fictional character. I'm not making that up. That's 100% true.
岡部君は知っているだろう。ゴリバチョフやレリツィンくらい。
I'm sure you know about Gorbachev and Yeltsin. Right, Okabe?
ええ、まあ。
Yeah, I suppose so.
ベルリンの壁の崩壊やペレストロイカ。
And Perestroika. And the fall of the Berlin Wall. Yes, the Berlin Wall fell in 1989. Yeah, Russian for restructuring, a policy of economic revolution around the introduction of market-oriented economics that was implemented in 1985 by the Soviet Union. Originally, it was an attempt to reboot a stalled socialist economy, but it led to the end of the Communist Party's one-party dominance and the collapse of the USSR. Meanwhile, after World War II, capital of Germany, Berlin, was divided into two. One side controlled by the Soviets, western by America, England and France. And it split into West Germany, East Germany. As late as the 1990s, believe it or not, West Germany competed in the World Cup that year. In football. East Germany built a wall on the state in response to continued attempts to seek asylum in West Berlin. That was the Berlin Wall until its destruction in 1989, symbol of the divide between the East and West Germany. Well, chaotic, bear in mind, it said Russian helicopters, not Soviets. But you say the Berlin Wall wouldn't have fallen down, but here's the point. He's referring to reading Steiner. If other people are saying the Berlin Wall has fallen, in this timeline, it never fell. And they're outing themselves as having reading Steiner. I think that's what he's getting at. And as you say, Evian, yeah, this is how history repeats. Forget the lessons of the past. You're not wrong.
はい。それも教科書で。
Yeah, they were in the textbooks. The second after the words were out of my mouth, an alarm went off in my mind. Something was wrong. There was something strange about what Shimiyama was saying. And then I realized. The East and West were caught up in the middle of a world war. How could the Berlin Wall have fallen? And could Gorbachev really execute Perestroika? By the time I realized he tricked me, it was too late. My panic appeared on my face.
君もそうだったのか。
You too, huh? Ding ding ding, chaotic, exactly! That was his plan. It was to get him to out himself. And like someone who's had no experience of being interrogated, he walked right into it. This is why, when being questioned, go with closed answers.
そしてそれを故意に隠そうとしたね。
And you were deliberately trying to hide it, weren't you?
やはり情報通りなんだな。君は何か重大なことを知っている。
So the information was right after all. You know something important.
なあ、岡部君、教えてほしいんだが。
Listen, Okabe. I want you to tell me. Shimoyama suddenly laughed. It was a bitter laugh. Almost eerily so.
ゴリバチョフ、レリツィン。君たちが口にするそれは一体誰なんだ？
Gorbachev, Yeltsin. Who are these people you all keep talking about? This is the time for him to go full Hoin Kiyoma and say they're part of the organisation that's hunting him. That'd be my defence. I'd go full on Hoin Kiyoma at this point.
我々はもちろんアメリカのあらゆる情報機関にもそんな人物のデータは存在しないんだ。
We don't have any data on them, and neither do any of the American intelligence agencies. That data doesn't exist. All he has to do is throw out the Chinibu bollocks that him and Ferris went about. The organisation's after him. There's the great fall of Sophia and all that kind of crap. Just confuse them by talking a load of bollocks. That would be the perfect defence here. Tell so much bullshit they have no idea what they can believe. It doesn't exist. I looked over at Yuki. Yeah. From the look on her face, I could tell that she really had no idea who they were.
ペレストロイカだの、ベルリンの壁崩壊だの、それは本当にあったことなのか。
Perestroika. The fall of the Berlin Wall. Did these things really happen? And yet, as you say, the Kiyoma's the master when the world begins to fall apart. Now's the best time in the world to pull him back from the back of the conscience. Bring him back.
答えてくれ。
Tell me, please. But I couldn't answer. I was thinking of something completely different. I suddenly realized why the world line might have changed a month ago on Christmas Eve. What if Russia used a time machine that day in an experiment to change the past? The goal of the experiment would have been to stop the collapse of the Soviet Union. And if the result of them changing the past was this world line, how foolish! A single change to the past and the butterfly effect makes the entire world so different. Yes, it does. Avian, do you remember the butterfly effect from the original game? The one that I called really early? How annoying was that? And yes, part of Chaos Theory says if a butterfly flaps its wings in Beijing, a storm will occur in New York. Even a small change in start condition can lead to radically different results. Chaos Theory states it can be difficult to predict the outcomes of the system, even if the equations describing it are extremely simple. But this does not mean, however, that these outcomes are random. It means that even a minor change in the process can cause an unexpected divergence in the results. Also, this theory does not apply to short-term predictions. Did they know how many people had died?
君や君の友達には本当に他の世界の歴史が見えているのか。
Have you and your friends really experienced the history of a different world?
私にはとても信じられない。頭のおかしい学者どものたわごとにしか。
I just can't believe it. It's just some nonsense cooked up by some crazy scientists. He was about to push me further when... the phone rang. Okay. So much for cell phones not working in this world, eh? And it's not mine. We heard the sound of an incoming call on a cell phone. Yep. As you say, the Chaos Theory is only Okabe knows if it works. At least that's what it's suggested. But with the others remembering it, do they now know? Shimiyama grunted and took his phone out of his pocket.
下山だ。
This is Shimiyama.
ああ、今防衛局へ。
Yeah, we're on our way to the bureau.
何？どういうことだ、それは。
What? What do you mean?
さあ、これだからバカどもは。あいつらどこの国の政治家だ。
Damn it! That's the problem with these idiots. What country do these politicians think they're working for? Shimiyama's finger slammed down on the end call button so hard I thought the phone would break. There was a look of rage on his face.
行き先変更だ。嘉手納基地へ向かえ。第2ゲートだ。
We're changing our destination. Head to Kadena Base, Gate 2. And Kadena's going to be another Okinawan base, I'm assuming. Yep, American Air Force Base in Japan has twice the area of Tokyo International Airport. The question is, which Tokyo International Airport? Is it Tokyo Haneda or Tokyo Narita? They're both massive, don't get me wrong, but I'm not sure which one's bigger than the other one. His words were filled with irritation as he spoke to the driver. Changing destinations? Who was he just talking to? As I sat there confused, Shimiyama started to call someone else. And the Japanese officials being puppeted by the Americans. Again, as part of the treaty from the end of the Second World War, they're obliged to defend it, but does that mean they take control? I don't know, I've never been part of the Japanese military, I couldn't tell you.
下山だ。行き先を変更する。嘉手納基地の第2ゲート前で落ち合う。
This is Shimiyama. We're changing our destination. We'll meet at Gate 2 of Kadena Base. That was all he said before he hung up.
どういうことですか？
What's going on?
状況が変わった。これから岡部君は米軍基地に行ってもらう。
The situation's changed. Okabe's heading to a US military base.
そのまま米軍機でアメリカ行き。なんていう楽しい旅行が待っているかもしれんな。
From there, he might get to take a fun trip on a US Air Force plane to America. Are we going to Hawaii then, I guess? Or Alaska, maybe? Because there can't be many places that would be safe in North America. The Russians have bombed the shit out of mainland America. So Guam, Honolulu, Hawaii, Alaska? What? America?
せめてファーストクラスを準備するよう要求しておくが、期待はしないでほしい。あいつらは我々の言うことなど、飼い犬の吠え声としか思ってない。
I'll ask them to make sure you get first-class accommodations. But don't get your hopes up. They don't listen to us any more than you'd listen to a yapping pet dog.
なんでアメリカに？
Why America?
CIA か NSC か知らんが、君の即時引き渡しを求めているそうだ。
I don't know if it's the CIA or the NSC. And I don't care. Higher up the food chain. But someone wants us to hand you over. So the Central Intelligence Agency, I know that one, but what's the NSC? The American National Security Council, organization that works directly for the White House and advises the President on national security matters. Consists of the President, Vice President, Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury, and the Secretary of Defense. Meanwhile, abbreviation used by American Central Intelligence Agency, CIA reports directly to the President. They engage in spying, intelligence gathering, and political manipulation in foreign nations to guarantee America's security. They are said to have been involved in many major historical events. Well, hang on, I really hope they're not going to do it, but is he going to go to Gitmo? I really fucking hope not. I really fucking hope not.
だからなぜ？
But why?
そんなことはあいつらに直接聞け。
Ask them yourself. And then he turned back towards the front and fell silent, refusing to answer any of my questions. The car went down the road for a while, until we got off at an exit that went South Okinawa. We stopped in front of the gate. Several US soldiers had evidently been waiting for my arrival.
君をアメリカに渡したら、もう我々のところには正しい情報なんて一つも降りてこなくなるだろう。
Once we hand you over to the Americans, we're not going to get any accurate information from them.
だから、これが最後の機会だ。
So this is my last chance. Shimamaya turned around from the front passenger seat and looked straight at me. His eyes were desperate and begging.
教えてくれ。我々はこの先、どうすればいいんだ。
Tell me, what are we supposed to do from now on?
頼む。
Please. I remembered all the soldiers in Tokyo who fought so desperately to protect me. Were they fighting to help someone else in Tokyo right now? Or were they already?
俺にはわかりません。
I don't know.
岡部君。
Okabe!
本当にわからないんです。
I really don't know!
俺一人の力でこの戦争をどうにかできると思いますか？
Do you think I can do something about this war all by myself?
ゴリバチョフやレリツィンがロシアの大統領になるとか、東西冷戦を劇的に終結させるとか、そんな歴史を知っていたところでどうにもならない。
Knowing that Gorbachev and Yeltsin were presidents of Russia, or that they brought a dramatic end to the Cold War, that doesn't actually help anything. I could hear the sound of another car getting closer. Shimiyama sighed and opened the passenger side door.
降りたまえ。
Get out. I exited the car as I was told. Okabe! Mayashi! Is she gonna get shot again? Oh wow, she's in full military clubber as well. She actually was kind of cute there with the military clubber on. Mayuri got out of the van behind us and ran over to me. Mayuri! Okabe! Oh, that's a cute shot, isn't it? My childhood friend flung herself into my arms, and I held tight. I finally get to see you!
よかった。無事で。
I'm so glad you're safe. And wow, Kelsey, you say this makes you feel more despair than the original Steins game. Damn! Wow! Now that is I don't know if it's high praise or not, but still, wow! I could feel her warmth. Mayuri was here. I'd never gone almost a whole month without seeing her before. And this was wartime. I couldn't easily contact her like I could in the old world line. So I'd been so worried about whether or not Mayuri was okay. It was no exaggeration to say that I'd survived this far just to make sure. I'd erased the entire Alpha world line to save her. No matter what happened. I wanted her to be safe. Okabe! You're hurting me!
悪い。
Oh, sorry. I'd held her too closely. I took a step back. Mayushi believed, you know? Mayushi believed she'd get to see Okabe again. Yeah. Hooray! You're safe, Nia! Okabe! Oh wow, good lord. Kaede and Luca look so depressed there. Look at their faces. Also, it's weird seeing Ferris without her pigtails in. Even though I've seen it before, it still looks weird. I heard two more voices I recognized. Ferris and Luca. And behind them I saw Kaede.
みんなもよく無事で。
I'm glad you're all safe.
岡部さん、
Okabe, Lukako. I felt myself getting choked up too when I saw Lukako cry. I exchanged greetings with Kaede too. Fubuki had grabbed onto her like a little kid. She was still pale and trembling.
フェリス。さすがにメイド服じゃないんだな。
Ferris, I guess you're not wearing your maid outfit for once.
フェイリスって呼ばれたのも久しぶりにゃ。
It's been a long time since anyone called me Ferris, Nia.
Ferris spoke sadly, then she put her hand around my neck and held me close. Her little pink lips got close to my ear, as if she was about to kiss me.
おい。
Hey! What was going on?
照れることないにゃ。
Don't be so embarrassed, Nia.
She laughed mysteriously, then Ferris, no, Akiha Rumiho, whispered into my ear while pretending to kiss me.
気をつけて。防衛省の人も米軍の人も信用してはダメ。
Be careful. Don't trust the Ministry of Defense or the Americans.
If the families are dead, then yeah, you know, Lukako's father could be dead. We don't know what happened to Mr. Braun. We don't know what happened to Nae. She's not been referenced. Kagari, we've not seen anything of her. We've not seen anything of Kiryu Moeka. Oh no! Anyway, so there's still plenty of people out there that, you know, there's resolutions that haven't been presented for.
大人は嘘だらけ。みんな本当のことを言わないわ。
Adults are all liars. None of them tell the truth.
That's right. Faris had a special talent. Cheshire Break. Oh, yep, Cheshire Cat, the Alice in Wonderland cat, I'm guessing. Yep, I was right. Fictional grinning cat in Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. Now, if only I could summon the creepy Alice and have her have her use die for me on everybody who's not in my allies. It'd make things so much easier. Just have her appear and go Shindikuridu. And as you say, yep, Carter, this world has gone to hell in this storyline. Absolutely. She was incredibly good at looking into someone's heart and seeing what they were thinking.
思い知ったよ。
Yeah, I just figured that out. One of them just tricked me. Faris looked surprised and took a step back.
悲しいにゃん。
That's sad, Nyan.
Oh! Oh! Bad timing! Bad timing! Okabe! Dude!
そうだな。
Yeah. And then I heard the sound of another engine. This time it was coming from beyond the gate and inside the base. It belonged to a black luxury car with an E on the license plate. Behind it was a minibus. E on the license plate. I'm trying to think which countries use E. Ireland use EI, I think. England use GB. Oh, they now use UK because of Brexit. I'm pretty sure Estonia use ES. So which country's E? The two of them stopped in front of the gate. It was time for my reunion to end.
Welcome!
Welcome! An American soldier as tall as a basketball player got out of the car.
ようこそ皆さん、私ハモンドです。歓迎します。
Welcome everyone, my name is Hammond. His Japanese was good, but not great.
では、ミスター岡部以外の皆さんはバスに乗ってください。
Everyone except Mr. Okabe, please get on the bus. So, well, Hammond's obviously not going to be Luskinem. It's going to be someone new, I expect. He was smiling, but I could tell he wasn't going to allow any arguments. And the other American soldiers were still carrying their rifles, as they stood guard without smiles. Shimiyama and the other Japanese soldiers were watching us from a distance. They didn't try to stop us. They were just looking downwards.
オカリン以外ってどういうこと？
Huh? Everyone but Okabe? What do you mean?
怖がらなくていいです。皆さんには少し話を聞かせてもらいます。でも後ですぐに沖縄防衛局へ送ります。さあ、どうぞ。
There's no need to be scared. We're just going to chat to you a little, and then we'll send you right along to the Okinawa Defense Bureau. Come along.
オカリン。
Okabe!
大丈夫だ。安心しろ。
It's fine. Don't worry.
でも。
But
ユキさん、参りを頼みます。
Yuki, take care of Mayuri.
はい。
okay.
Yuki nodded and put her arm around Mayuri's shoulder as she led her to the bus. Everyone else followed.
オカリン。
俺
Okabe!
の両親によろしく言っておいてくれ。
Tell my parents I said hi. Ooh, ouch. If that's not a I'm not coming back flag, I don't know what is. Wow. You might as well tell Tiny Tim I'm not coming home this Christmas with that one. Once everyone but me was on, the minibus left immediately. The area in front of the gate fell silent. It was hard to believe this existed in the same world as all the places I crossed on my escape through Japan's main island.
さて、それではミスター岡部、 あなたはどうぞこちらの車へ。
Alright, Mr. Okabe, come this way. He told me to get in the back seat of the black luxury car. What would happen to me once I got inside? I tried to think about it, but realized there was nothing I could do. I was just about to get in the car when...
岡部君逃げろ。アメリカへ行ったらもう生きて戻れ。
Okabe, run! If you go to America, you won't make it out! Shimiyama's scream was cut off by the sound of gunfire. In the corner of my eye, I saw the American soldiers firing without hesitation. No way. I tried to turn around when...
乗って。
Get inside! A large hand blocked my vision as Hammond held me down. I couldn't hear Shimiyama's voice anymore. Through the gaps between his fingers, I could see that nothing was moving. And I knew exactly what that meant. I was shoved into the car before I had time to think about it. Yet this does not look good. Damn, so Shimiyama, despite coming across as an asshole, ended up actually trying to help him.
こんなの
But the thing is, if Shimiyama knew that he was going to be so fucked by going there, why did they take him there? That's what I don't get. This is... I tried to open my mouth, but Hammond looked into my eyes and shook his head. I wasn't supposed to talk then. Hammond sat next to me, then closed the door. The car started to move. Soon, we turned down a different road than the one the minibus was taking. America, huh? I'd never been there before. What were they gonna do to me there? Use me as a guinea pig? Cut open my head and dissect my brain? I probably wasn't going to be able to do any tourist things. Yeah, it's just getting a bit Arkham City. I will enjoy dissecting your brain, Okabe. I felt like screaming, but tried my best to stay
あ
calm.
なたに会わせたい人がいます。
There's someone I want you to meet. Hammond suddenly spoke, then he handed me something. I took it before I even looked at what it was. When I checked, it was a normal smartphone. Is this the return of AI Makasai, I wonder?
ロックはかかっていません。そこのボタンを押して。
It's not locked. Just hit that button. Confused, I pressed the button as I was told. And then something appeared on the screen. I was right. It's the return of Makasai.
クリス
Makasai! It was the Makasai Kurisu Amadeus.
なんで米軍がアマデウスを
Why does the US military have Amadeus? I was about to ask Hammond when, for the first time in about a month, that feeling came back. Oh, it looks like it's going to reactivate. I think we're going to move world lines. Yep, we're moving back. 1.129954. And we're back in the lab. The whole world and all its colours began to shift. There was a feeling of instability, like my brain was unable to recognise where it was, and then dizziness and a sense of falling, like when you get when you're anemic. I could hear the blood vessels deep within my ears, and they sounded really loud. The sense of floating finally stopped, and my surroundings coalesced into firm shapes. Okabe! Mayuri was in front of me. I was in the lab, in the room I knew well, and the date. 21st of January. Nothing online. Amadeus doesn't work. Oh, wait, no. It's got to be done. I've got to have the metal loop part. Gonna have the 8-bit for Intel on that as well. Oh, that's cool. It's now changed the actual settings here as well. That's kind of cool. Yeah, so Maho's still in this line as well. That's interesting. There was no trace of Okinawa anywhere.
そんなに見つめられたら、まゆし恥ずかしいんだけど。
Mayushi's going to get embarrassed if you keep staring like that.
I realized I was staring at Miyuri. I looked around the room. Dara was sitting in front of the PC like always, hunched over with his back towards me. Suzuha was reading a magazine on the couch. On the open page I could read the new title, New Encephalitis Strikes Worldwide. Are you in danger? Game, how did you know? We've had to re-implement some restrictions over here now. Stop doing that! The same couch, the same cheap fridge, Dara's computer desk, the dirty curtain that cut off the development room for the rest of the lab. The wall clock, which I picked up out of a garbage dump, told me it was past 6 o'clock. I looked at the calendar, and 2010 was already gone. It was January 2011. The world line had changed again. I was back to the old world line?
No. 前よりここって秋葉原だよな。
Hey, Mayuri, this is Akihabara, right?
違うのか。
Is it not Akihabara?
秋葉原だよ。
It's Akihabara.
今日って何日だっけ。
What day is it again?
21日。
The 21st.
ゴリバチョフ知ってるか。
Do you know who Gorbachev is?
ゴリバチョフ？どこかで聞いたことがあるような。
Gorbachev? I think I've heard that name.
ペレストロイカっしょ。恐ろしや。あ、でもゴリビーってソ連時代だっけ？
Perestroika, right? Russia. Or was Gorbachev back from the Soviet days?
やっぱロシアといえばプーチンっしょ。目の前で睨まれたらしょんべんちびる自信あるね。
These days, when you think of Russia, you think of Putin. I'm sure if he was in front of me, he glared at me, I'd pee my pants.
プーシンさんなら知ってるよ。ロシアの大統領さんだよね。
I know Putin. He's the president of Russia, right?
実はワンコが好きなんだよ。秋田犬を飼ってるんだって。ニュースでやってた。
Did you know he likes doggies? He keeps an Akita. I saw it on the news.
大統領。
President.
そうだ。大統領だ。
Yeah, that's right. He's the president.
Huh?
Mayuri, Dara, and Suzuha all looked over at me suspiciously. It felt like a long time since anyone had looked at me that way. I was back. I no longer had to worry that I might be killed at any second. I felt incredibly relieved. But at the same time I wondered, why had the world line changed again? I needed to calm down and think for a bit. I went up to the roof and booted up the web browser on my smartphone. Unlike during wartime, it connected immediately. Except, I can't bring up my smartphone, it's not letting me do it. I was amazed at the speed. Just getting an internet connection in the last world line had been difficult enough. Wikipedia, so basically Wikipedia, basically. I started by searching for Gorbachev, and the results came back instantly. And yes, Chaotic, is he now going to try to save the world now that he's seen what can happen? Having actually seen the hell that can be caused by doing nothing, does he now realise this might be his fate? Perestroika. The Soviet Union's first and last president. The August coup d'etat and the collapse of the Soviet Union. All the keywords I hoped to see were there. As soon as I confirmed that the Soviet Union was dismantled at the end of the 20th century and no longer existed, I closed the browser. Whew. Then why had the world line shifted again? I hadn't done anything. I didn't have any way to affect the divergence value. So what had changed it? Had whoever performed the first experiment in Russia undone it? Had they watched its progress for a month and then be satisfied? Were they going to keep at it? And if they did, would I be caught up in it each time? It's so cold. It was a mistake to come outside with the coat on. Nothing I could come up with by myself would be anything more than a guess. I went back to the lab. I wonder if I can call Amadeus now. No, I can't. It won't let me do it. The wreath we put up at the entrance for the Christmas party was still up.
Christmas party.
That Christmas party, huh? It had only been a month, hadn't it? It felt like a million years ago. I had no memories of what I'd done in this world line after the Christmas party.
Oh, そういえば飾り付け放置したまんまだっけ。いい加減外さないとな。
Oh, come to think of it, we left the decorations up. We should take those down.
パーティーの時にオカリンと吹雪氏が倒れたっしょ。それでバタバタしちゃってちゃんと片付けできてないんだよね。
Ah, so it turns out Okabe did collapse during the party. You and Miss Fubuki collapsed during the party, right? So there was a big fuss and we sort of forgot to clean up, in which case he's got to find Fubuki and ask if she has memories of being anywhere else. He needs to get to the bottom of why she collapsed, why she remembered, and who are the other 8 people. They didn't have Suzuha, so we can eliminate her. They didn't have Daru, so we can eliminate him. They had Amadeus. If Amadeus Kurisu had the diaries, that's 1. If they got Maho, possibly 2. I'm trying to think of who else. They mentioned Yuki, but she didn't seem to remember anything, did she, too much, apart from being lovers with Daru. I'm on the fence with Yuki. Struggling to think of anybody else obvious who might remember. Oh, Kagari. She's another one.
俺と中瀬さんが倒れた。
Nakase-san and I collapsed. Was that when the world line changed? Everyone remembered that I collapsed at the Christmas party, which means I'd come back to the same world line as the one I'd been in before. If this was Russia's doing, it was terrifying to think they could control the world line to that degree. And there was one more thing. It worried me that Fubuki had collapsed too. I stood there, lost in thought. Daru and Miyuri looked a little concerned.
Okarin?
Oh, Karin!
そういえば中瀬さんの具合はどうなのかなって思ってな。
Oh, come to think of it, I was wondering how Nakase is doing. Yeah, met Amadeus, world line shifted again, but unless there's conversations that are taking place between Okabe and Markise where he spilled the beans and she's copied the data and then whoever's got access to that data has used it to make the time machine. It'd be interesting if the AI Makise and Okabe are the link that creates the chain of events. It would be very, very interesting. I quickly came up with an excuse.
ふぶきちゃん、まだ入院してるんだ。
Fubuki's still in the hospital.
入院？もう1ヶ月近く経ってるのにか？
In the hospital? Even though it's been a month?
本人は大丈夫だって言ってるんだけど、ちっとも退院させてもらえないんだって。
She says she's fine, but they won't let her leave. So they sectioned her. I've heard that lately. Unless you were really, really sick, they wouldn't let you stay in the hospital for very long. Yes. She started talking about the other world line. And they believe she's got that disease, new encephalitis. Because on the news broadcast, that medical researcher said that people who have that condition often don't have memories that match the rest of the world and everything else. They think she's got that disease, new encephalitis. And that's why she's still in the hospital. Was Fubuki sick with something?
これの疑いが晴れないらしいね。
They still think she's got this, I guess. Suzuha whispered as she held up the page of the magazine she was reading. New encephalitis strikes worldwide. Are you in danger? That's where the game's going.
新型脳炎
New encephalitis? I borrowed the magazine. They were talking about this last November. I'd seen a glimpse of it on the news. Outside of Japan, they'd seen almost 100 people, albeit with mild symptoms. In Japan, there were 10 people being kept at hospitals for examinations, or so it said. Those 10 people. Somehow, Okabe's escaped detection, but that matches what we just had before. So it had made its way to Japan. And one of those 10 was Fubuki then. Was it transmissible by air? No. We didn't catch it at the Christmas party, did we? I knew that getting nervous wouldn't help anything, but still I wondered.
ねえ、オカリンも一度病院で見てもらった方がいいんじゃないかな。
Hey, shouldn't you go to the hospital too, Okabe?
あの時のオカリン、吹雪ちゃんよりもっと具合悪そうだったよ。
You were in worse shape than she was, you know.
ああ、考えておくよ。
Yeah, I'll think about it. I gave a half-hearted answer to Mayuri and turned back to the magazine. Strange symptoms being found all over the world. Cause unknown. Sudden memory loss. Memories differ from those of people around you. Losing all sense of the passage of time. Losing the ability to tell the difference between dreams and reality, and sometimes having waking dreams. The article was filled with things like that. This was like...
まるでリーディングシュタイナーみたいじゃないか。
This was just like reading Steiner. And it matched exactly with what Shiyama had told me in the other world line.
随分とリアルな夢を見たりするとか。
You have very realistic dreams, for example. And yes, if you change across the world line, you get knocked out. Now, it'd be interesting, wouldn't it, if like the world line changes, you get knocked out. But how it'd be interesting how they're not tracking them then, because they track Fubuki but not Okabe.
ひどい時には白チュームというのかな。現実と夢の区別がつかなくなることもあると聞いた。
In particularly bad instances, they could be almost called waking dreams. I'm told at times you lose the ability to tell the difference between dreams and reality.
中瀬君と非常によく似た白チュームを見る人たちがいる。しかも一人や二人じゃない。
There are others who say they have very similar dreams, and not just one or two. I'd wondered back then if Fubuki possessed reading Steiner too. Maybe the reason she collapsed at the Christmas party wasn't some new disease, but the unexpected activation of reading Steiner. That would mean her original diagnosis was wrong. The unnecessary tests and treatments they gave her wouldn't help a bit. It looked like I needed to talk to Fubuki. Yep, I knew it. He wants to talk to Fubuki. Sorry, 1 second. Just need to stretch my legs for a second. There we are, that's better. That's much better. It's an interesting idea that you leave the Okabe behind, because obviously he activates into a new form of himself, doesn't he? Because it's not a parallel world though, is it? It's literally different world lines. And his memories change over. Yeah. For those of you who can't read Japanese, that there says staff station. Literally. It's literal. It's a literal translation. Sustafu station. Literal translation from language called katakana. I ended up going over that day. She was at a large general hospital with a medical student department, located in Ochanomizu. It was close enough to Akihabara I could walk, and getting there was easy, and that's actually true. It's the next town along from Akihabara, actually, Ochanomizu. Tea water, I think it stands for. So she might get the wrong idea if I went alone. I encouraged Mayuri to come with me. I hoped it would look like I was only coming as an afterthought. But it ended up being a bigger deal than I expected. When they heard that Mayuri was going, Yuki and Kaede decided to come too. Evidently, they'd all been to visit Fubuki several times before, and they knew exactly where she was located. They walked down the halls without hesitation. It was almost 8, when visiting hours ended, so we needed to hurry. But as we passed by a nurse's station, there was a minor commotion. A woman in her late 40s wearing a grey jersey was yelling at the doctors and nurses.
Enough of this! When do I get to go home?
ですから必要な検査と治療を行った後にですね。
We've told you, only after you've been examined and gotten the treatment you need.
治療なんて何にもしてないじゃない。しかもちょっとした検査のはずがなんで1ヶ月も出られないの。仕事はどうしてくれるの？
You aren't giving me any kind of treatment! And what was supposed to be a quick exam ended with me stuck here for a month? What am I supposed to do about my job?
落ち着いてください。この病気は未知の部分が多く、十分な検査を行って慎重に治療をしませんと危険なのです。
Calm down. There's still a lot we don't know about this disease. Without proper examination and treatment, it's dangerous.
嘘。テレビじゃそんなに大変な病気じゃないから安心しろみたいに言ってたわよ。
Liar! The TV said not to worry because it wasn't that bad!
Game, seriously, how did you know about people arguing about the severity of diseases? You were 6 years early!
ですから、それは適切な検査と治療を行うことが前提です。先ほども突然のめまいを起こしたと看護師からの報告が来ています。
We've told you before. That's only if you get the appropriate treatment. One of the nurses just told me you were dizzy.
あれは夕飯が遅いからお腹が空いて貧血になっただけよ。私は元気なの。さっさと退院させて。
I just felt anemic because dinner was late! I'm just fine! Let me go home!
The woman was about to grab the doctor by the throat. Several female nurses held her back, then dragged her off somewhere with reassuring words.
びっくりしたわ。
Ooh, now, chaotic, that's an interesting question. If someone made an Amadeus Okabe, would that have reading Steiner? That's a potentially fantastic plotline. If that happens, then that could be really fucking interesting. That's a really interesting idea. That scared me.
ふぶきちゃんは大丈夫かな？
You think Fubuki's okay? The girls hurried even faster down the hallway. Fubuki was in a 4-person room at the very end of the hallway. We hesitantly peeked inside.
この声。
That voice! We could hear moaning coming from beyond the curtains surrounding Fubuki's bed. Mayuri went pale and hurriedly ripped them open. Here we go, people!
ふぶきちゃん。
Fubuki! What in the fuck? What's... brain monitoring? Is that what they're doing? Fubuki made a strange noise and spun around as we came in. I looked closer and saw that she was sitting on the bed with her legs crossed, watching a show on the LCD attached to it, TV attached to it. Her eyes were red and swollen with tears, but given the fact she had a stick of Pocky in her mouth, she was probably just crying over a soap opera. Soap operas. Is there anything worse in terms of pit of despair than TV soap operas? Is there anything worse? My idea of an eternal punishment in hell is being strapped into a cinema screen and forced to watch endless repeats of Coronation Street. The scary thing is, people would do that willingly over here. Why?
おお、みんな、また来てくれたんだ。
Oh, you guys came to see me!
Fubuki wiped away her tears and welcomed us with her usual smile.
まゆしはドキドキしちゃったよ。ふぶきちゃんが泣いてるって思って。
You scared me, Yushi. I thought you were crying.
紛らわしいんだから。
You really scared us.
ごめんごめん。
Sorry.
Even as she apologized, she tossed another chocolate-coated stick into her mouth. Her hair was tied up, and she was wearing some kind of headgear. At first I thought it was just that she was too lazy to do her hair, but evidently not. There were cords coming out of the headgear that connected to a belt around her waist. Were they monitoring her brainwaves? As unobtrusively as possible, I took a look at the other patients around the room. They were all wearing the same headgear. They may have been giving it to all the encephalitis patients.
ふぶきちゃん、ごめんね。みんなで押しかけちゃって。
Sorry to bring everybody over, Fubuki.
とんでもない。大歓迎だよ。それに、オカリンさんまで来てくれるとは思わなかった。
No, you're very welcome, and I didn't think Okabe would come.
Fubuki stared at me intently. She'd never done that before, so I started to wonder if there was something on my face.
俺と同じように倒れたって言うから気になってたんだ。具合は？
They said you collapsed like I did, so I got worried. How are you doing?
全然平気。なんで退院できないのか本当わかんないよ。
Just fine. I don't understand why they won't let me leave.
毎日検査するだけで他には何にもやることないし、退屈で。
Every day they just do exams and there's nothing for me to do. I'm so bored.
しかもさ、病室って携帯禁止なんだよね。メールしたくてもロビーまで行かないとダメだし、夜9時になると勝手に消灯されちゃうから深夜アニメも見られないし。
And you're not allowed to use your phone in the rooms. If I want to send a text, I have to go all the way to the lobby. And they turn off the lights at 9, so I can't watch the late night anime.
I once spent a month in hospital when I was a kid. I can relate so much to this right now. I was there, Gandalf. I was there 30 years ago. We didn't even have games consoles. All we could do was read books from the 1970s. Oh yes. It didn't scar me. It didn't scar me at all.
もう信じられない。
I really don't believe this.
Her bed was surrounded with portable game consoles, magazines, a miniature DVD player, anything to stave off boredom. And given all the half-empty boxes of snacks, it was hard to believe the disease was as serious as they said on the news.
オカリンさんは大丈夫なの？
Are you okay, Ocarine?
ああ、マユリにも言ったが、この通り、なんともない。
Yeah, I told Mayuri this, but I'm fine.
そっか、よかった。
I see. I'm glad.
She seemed truly relieved, but she was still staring at me.
Huh?
And suddenly Kaede started to fidget. Not only that, but she blushed, then glanced at me. and then almost started to cry. She was acting really weird.
楓ちゃん
Kaede?
どうかした
That's wrong. Kaede started fidgeting even more when she realized that everyone was looking at her, but she had no choice but to go over and whisper something in Fubuki's ear.
はあ
Huh?
吹雪ちゃん、
Fubuki, shh! The other girls tried to quiet Fubuki down. This was a hospital, and there were other patients in the room. We couldn't make a fuss.
だって皆さん、ちょっと聞いてくださいよ。
But listen to this, everybody.
ここにいらっしゃる来島楓さんってば、私とオカリンさんがみんなに隠れてこっそり付き合ってるんじゃないかって疑ってるんですよ。
Miss Kurishima Kaede here suspects me of secretly dating Okarin. Now it was our turn to keep shouting in surprise.
何を言い出すんだ。
Where are you getting that from?
だってまゆりちゃんの話だと、今日吹雪ちゃんのお見舞いに行こうと言い出したのってオカリンさんなんですよね。
Because according to Mayuri, you're the one who wanted to come see Fubuki today, right?
それはまあそうだが。
That's true. There was another reason, but I couldn't say that.
それにさっきから吹雪ちゃんとオカリンさん愛おしそうに見つめ合ってるし。
And Fubuki and Okarin were staring longingly at each other.
愛おしそうに見つめてないから。
We were not staring longingly at one another.
そうじゃなくて、
That's not it. Fubuki tried to scratch her hair, but the headgear blocked her way and she gave up.
ちょっとリアルな夢をね、見ちゃって。
I had this really realistic dream.
リアルな夢。
Realistic dream. I was startled. That may have been what I wanted to find
今
out.
日の夕方くらいかな。少しうとうとしてたんだ。やることもないし暇すぎちゃって。
It was sometime this evening. I was kind of spacing out. There's just nothing to do around here.
そしたらなんかね、あんまり詳しくは覚えてないんだけど、私とオカリンさんとユキさんが怖い人に車に乗せられてどこかへ連れて行かれる夢を見ちゃったんだ。
And then somehow, I don't really remember, but me and Okarin and Yuki were all taken somewhere in a car by these scary men. Yep. There is the reading Steiner confirmed, people. Fubuki not only has it, but she recalls us being together. So the question is, who else has reading Steiner? And who is responsible for changing the world line twice?
私も出てくるの？
I was there too. Yeah. It was the same. That meant Fubuki had experienced the same things I'd gone through in the other world line. And this evening would have been the same time I was experiencing it. I peeked through the curtains to make sure that none of the hospital staff were around.
みんな悪いが中瀬さんと二人で話をさせてくれないか。
Sorry, guys, but can you leave me alone with Nakase for a bit?
まさか。
No way.
違うって。
It's not like that. I wasn't really sure how to handle that reaction.
それはマユシーたちには聞かれたくないこと？
Is it something you don't want Mayashi and everyone else to know
病
about?
気のことについてなんだ。
It's about her disease. Yeah, it's an interesting difference there, Chaotic. Yeah, exactly. It seems that they do remember parts of the other world line, but most of their own. Which is a flip side, as you say. So the question is, have we got an anti-Okabe out there who does remember both? It makes too much sense for that to be there. There'd have to be someone out there like that. The question is who?
わかった。
Okay, I understand.
Mayuri nodded and went outside the curtains. The other two looked bothered, but they followed her.
中瀬さん、君の話した夢なんだが、もしかして場所は沖縄じゃなかったか？
Nakase, did this dream of yours take place in Okinawa?
そうだね。うん。多分沖縄だったと思う。車に乗ってる時にそういう看板を見た気がする。
Yeah, that's right. I think it was in Okinawa. I think I saw a sign saying so when I was in the car.
Yeah, Chaos, I can say that. Unfortunately, that sounds very similar to dissociative identity disorder, where you can literally suddenly imagine you're somewhere else and you don't recall how you got there. I'm hoping that's not where the game's going with this, because again, I don't like trivializing conditions, but it has similar tones of that.
車に乗ってたのは俺と君、そしてユキさん、他に運転手と背の低い自衛隊の男。
Inside the car, there was you, me, and Yuki. Then the driver, and a short man who was an SDF soldier.
Yeah.
男の名前は下山。
The man's name was Shimayama. Fubuki suddenly went pale. A dream about being in a car in Okinawa could be written off as a coincidence, but knowing the exact name of the man in that shared dream was a different matter entirely.
どうして？
How? Why?
その男は君に白チュームの話をした。ロシアの大統領の話も。
The man talked to you about waking dreams, and the president of Russia.
That's right.
And I agree, Chaotic. I want it to be its own thing like Reading Steiner. I don't want it to be going in that direction, so I don't think it is either. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. It doesn't fit the narrative of this game and the previous Steins Gate, so I can't see it either. As I say, that's why I'm hoping it's just a tiny stretch in the wrong direction. I really don't want it to go that way. Unfortunately, I've had a habit in the past of saying I really don't want something to happen, and it happens. So, we shall see.
そして俺たちは米軍基地に連れて行かれた。そこでマユリたちと合流して俺とは別れた。
And then we were taken to a US Army base. There you met up with Mayuri and the others, and said goodbye to me. Fubuki was too stunned to speak. There was no room for doubt. My suspicion turned into a certainty. Fubuki had a stronger reading Steiner than most people, and remembered the other world line as a relatively realistic dream.
夢の中でその下山って人が言ってた。オカリンさんも私と同じで別の世界の記憶を持ってるんだって。
In that dream, that Shimayama guy said that you and I both had memories of another world.
ああ。
Yeah.
それって本当だったんだ。
Was he right?
ああ。
Yeah. I hesitated for a moment, but then I gave her a brief explanation of my own reading Steiner ability. The one thing I wanted to make sure she understood was that her dreams weren't caused by an illness. But her reaction wasn't what I expected.
だったら他にもいるかも。病気じゃない人。
Then there may be others that aren't sick too.
そうなのか。
There are.
暇だからみんなとね、よく話をするんだ。自分の見た夢の話。それがものすごくそっくりでびっくりすることがあって。
There's nothing to do, so I talk to the others a lot about the dreams we have, and sometimes it's just amazing how similar they are.
And they're having this conversation while this is on. It may look like a brain monitoring output, but couldn't these things here all contain microphones? And couldn't whatever's on her belt contain a broadcaster? Do they not realise that they're probably being listened to right now? And that's not forgetting the fact that it's a hospital, so who knows if the DVD player and the light switches are all bugged as well. Pro tip, if you're ever going to have a quiet conversation, if you're ever going to have a conversation you don't want anyone to hear, be near running water. Top tip.
ついさっきもね、隣の部屋に入院してる中学生の子が言ってた。ここで仲良くなった子なんだけど。
There's a kid in elementary school who's in the next room. We became friends.
一度も行ったことないはずなのに、沖縄にいる夢を見たって。戦争で東京が燃えちゃって、自衛隊に助けられて沖縄へ逃げる夢だったって。
They said that they'd never been to Okinawa, but they had a dream that they were there. Tokyo had burned down, and the self-defense forces saved them and took them there.
Yeah, I can't bring up my phone. And exactly, Okabe could well be caught, because that's the whole point. If he's seen as literally the axis that is the point of time, the axis generator, they will want him. Absolutely. That was one of the things from the first Steins game, let's not forget, when Moeka came to the lab. That's what they wanted. Do apologise, sorry my glasses out one more time. And I say the near running water thing is actually used a lot. It's an old spy trick. It's why you often see scenes in certain films where they're stood in the shower with water running, because it can scramble sound. Honestly, next time you want to prove that, so try recording yourself on your mobile phone while stood washing your hands by a faucet, and a faucet running water. You'll be amazed at how much distortion you get on the sound.
そうか。
I see. Oh no. If that was true, then it wasn't just Fubuki. There were other patients who were being kept in a hospital for no reason, who didn't have any kind of disease at all.
お医者さんに話した方がいい。
Should I talk to the doctors?
いや、とてもじゃないが信じてもらえるとは思えない。それどころか、妄想がひどくなったって診断されたりでもしたら。
No, I don't think they believe you. And if they started to think that your delusions were getting worse...
そっか。
Oh, you're right.
他の人にもまだ黙っていた方がいい。騒ぎになったら大変だ。
You shouldn't tell the others yet. You don't want there to be a fuss.
Yeah.
And then Yuki poked her head through the curtain.
岡部さん、看護師さんがこっちに来ます。
Okabe, a nurse is coming.
面会時間おしまいですよ。
Visiting hours are over for today.
I looked at the clock. It was well past 8.
バタバタしちゃってごめんね、ふぶきちゃん。今度はゆっくりできるように早めに来るね。
Sorry for being in a rush, Fubuki. Next time we'll come earlier so we have more time.
ああ、まゆし、行っちゃやだ。
Aw, Maishi, don't go!
でも、ナースさんに怒られちゃうよ。
But the nurse will get mad.
そんなの別にいいよ。今夜は私と一緒に寝て。
Let them get mad.
Not saying the second part. Fubuki was back to her usual self. She grabbed Mayuri's hand and held it tight. Kaede chuckled and forced her to let it go.
なるべく来てあげるから。わがまま言っちゃダメ。
Don't be selfish. We'll come as often as we can.
なるべくじゃやだよ。明日も明後日も放課後になったら来て。暇で死んじゃう。
That's not good enough. Come tomorrow and the day after. As soon as school's over. I'm so bored I could die.
Fubuki flailed her arms and legs about. It was a bit too deliberate, if you ask me. Kaede patted her on the head.
はいはい。それじゃあ またね。
Right, right. Bye-bye.
Mayuri and Yuki went over to pet her too, and before long she looked like a little puppy in a kennel being petted. We left her behind and exited the room. I was the last to leave, and before I did, I turned around and saw Fubuki staring at us from the bed. Our eyes met, so I nodded a little. It's okay. You're not sick, so don't worry. I don't know if she still understood what I meant, but she nodded back. Ooh, just had a quick save. That's the first time that's happened, and I believe I've got something on my phone. Yeah, I've got
I want to talk in private. I'll wait for you to contact me.
something in the short message made me feel very tense. Ah, so I'm guessing if you don't answer the phone, you don't get to see her. After I said my goodbyes to the others, I contacted Suzuha. She told me to come to the top of the radio building. When I arrived, she was standing silently on the dark roof. There was no trace of a smile on her face. Her eyes shone in the darkness, and as she glared at me, I felt a shiver run down my spine. This was not the Suzuha I was used to. Maybe this was her true self. Whatever she wanted to talk to me about, I was sure I wasn't going to like it.
悪かったね、オカリンおじさん。こんなところに呼び出しちゃって。
Sorry to bring you out here like this, Uncle Ocarine.
話ってなんだ？
What did you want to talk about?
うん。
Oh,
私はなんていうか、話の駆け引きとか上手な情報の引き出し方とかそういうの苦手でさ。
I'm really not good at talking to people or trying to persuade them, you know.
From the way she stumbled over her words, it was clearly something she didn't want to talk about.
単刀直入に言ってくれ。以前のお前なら多分そうしていただろう。
Just say it. That's what the old you would have done, right?
そうだね。
Yeah, you're right.
もしかして俺のことを気遣ってくれてるのか？
Are you trying to break this to me gently?
そうか。ありがとう。
I see. Thanks.
別にそんなんじゃ。
It's not really like that.
Suzuha got a little annoyed and tried to say something back to me, but ended up swallowing her words.
実は俺最初はちょっとショックだったんだ。
To be honest, it was a bit of a shock at first.
お前が俺のよく知ってる鈴葉と全然違ったから。
You were so different from the Suzuha that I know.
それは仕方ない。世界線が違えば育った環境もそこで出来上がる人格や考え方も変わる。
I can't help it. When the world line changes, so does your environment you grew up in. And that changes your personality and how you think.
でも今はそうは思わない。鈴葉はやっぱり鈴葉だよ。
Yeah. But I don't think that anymore. You're still the Suzuha I know.
いや、やっぱり私は違う。
No, I really am different.
オカリンおじさんのよく知ってる天音鈴葉じゃない。
I'm not the Amane Suzuha you know well, Uncle Ocarine.
鈴葉
Suzuha.
今日、私はオカリンおじさんを尾行したんだ。
I followed you today.
尾行？
Followed me.
そう、病院の中までずっと。
That's right. All the way into the hospital.
What did she say? Why would she do that? Because she knows full well that she also had. She said it first. She knew that Fubuki did not have that disease. She even said they must still think she has that. The moment that he made it clear that he knew there was a connection between Fubuki and himself, she was like, I've got to see this. I always told you she was best girl. I told you all this. And I'm going to get ready for the hate for all the other shippers in the world, but no. I knew the answer even without thinking. There was only one reason she would do something like that.
俺が世界線を移動したことに気づいたのか
You realized that I jumped world lines.
あのクリスマスの夜におじさんにリーディングシュタイナーが発動したんじゃないかとずっと疑ってたんだ。
I'd always suspected that your reading Steiner might have activated on Christmas Eve.
あの日だけじゃない。今日もだ。
And not just then. Today, too.
それで確信に変わったよ。
And now I'm sure.
I deliberately avoided telling Suzuha that the world line had changed. It was obvious that she would react like this.
聞かせて。ここはもう前の世界線とは変わってしまったのか。
Tell me, is this a different world line than it was before?
聞いてどうする
What will you do with the answer?
いいから答えて。
Just tell me!
これは命令だ。岡部倫太郎。
This is an order, Okabe Rintaro.
Yep. You pissed her off. She told you she was trying to break it to you gently, and you didn't listen. You should listen to me next time, mate. I know what makes her tick. I gulped as I saw her pull a gleaming pistol from out of her jacket. It was aimed right between my eyes.
冗談だよな
This is a joke, right?
冗談でこんなことはしない。
I wouldn't do this as a joke.
It felt like Suzuha was trying to revert to who she was when I first come to the Beta World Line. A woman who put her mission above everything else. She was so desperate it hurt to even look at her. What would happen if she shot me here? I imagined myself lying on the ground in a pool of blood. In my mind, the image overlapped with Makise's dead body. I closed my eyes and gripped my teeth, trying to avoid a flashback. I'd spent the last month trying to escape Okinawa in the middle of a war, but I still wasn't used to having a gun pointed right at me.
もう一度聞く。世界線は変動したのか。ここはもう以前とは違う世界なのか。
I'll ask you one more time. Did the world line change? Is this a different world than it was before?
But Suzuha's hands were shaking a little as she held the gun. That would have been unimaginable when she'd first come here from the future. And no, it's all an act. She might be threatening him, but she's not going to follow through with it. Can you think of a bigger time paradox than that? Killing the person who invented the time machine and brought her back. That completely destroyed the timelines. Maybe she was ashamed of it, because she bit down on her teeth even harder. She must have bit her lip when she said so, because a single trail of blood ran down her jaw and dripped onto the ground. I stared at the blood as I answered.
大丈夫だ俺たちは以前のままの世界線にいる
Don't worry. We're in the same world line we were before.
本当に
You're sure?
ああ一度別の世界線に移動したのは事実だが再び元に戻ったはずだ
Yeah, it's true that the world line moved once, but we came back, I think. So according to the world lines before, you're right that you can't die before 2025, but we're moving, the goalposts keep being shifted. Never assume anything anymore. Always double check.
それをやったのは誰だ。ロシアか。
Who was responsible? Russia?
だと思う
I think so.
とうとうタイムマシンの実験を開始したってことか。
Which means they finally started experimenting with the time machine.
I nodded.
それならもう一刻 刻の猶予もないじゃないか。
Then that means there's no time to waste!
連中が実験を続ければやがて取り返しのつかないことが起きる。シュタインズゲートに続く道が閉ざされてしまうかもしれない。
If they keep experimenting, something will happen that can't be changed. It might close the path to Steins Gate.
私はバカだ。悩んでる場合じゃなかった。もう説得なんて終わりだ。
I'm a fool. I shouldn't have wasted time worrying. I'm done trying to get you to change your mind.
どうする気だ？
What will you do?
岡部倫太郎、私の命令に従ってもらう。一緒に7月28日に行くんだ。
Okabe Rinsaro, you're going to follow my orders. You're coming back to July 28th with me.
拒否したら
And if I refuse?
拒否なんてさせない。
I won't let you refuse.
お前はいいのか？それで
Are you okay with that?
何？
What?
この世界線をなかったことにしてしまって、それで
Are you okay with erasing this world
う
line?
るさい！
Shut up! There was a horrible ringing in my ears and a fierce pain in my eardrums. A second later, the smell of gunpowder passed by my face. She really shot at me.
次は脅しじゃなくて当てる。
Next time, it won't be a threat! I'll shoot you! She was glaring at me as if she was about to cry. We stared at each other in silence. I tried as hard as I could to come up with something to calm her down, but nothing came to me. Nothing I could come up with would get her to change her mind. What should I do?
鈴葉オカリン何やってんだお
Suzuha! Ocarine! What are you doing? Suddenly I heard Daru's voice. I turned and saw that he'd just come out of the door near the stairs.
父さん、ど
Dad!
うして？
How?
マユシとアマネシからメールがあったんだ。なんか鈴葉がオカリンを呼び出したって言うからさ、嫌な予感がして探してたんだお。
I got a message from Mayashi and Amanishi. They said you'd contacted Ocarine. I had a bad feeling, so I decided to look for you.
あと差出人不明のメールがあった。
And then I got a message from an unknown sender.
差出人不明？
An unknown sender?
この場所のマップの URL を送りつけられた。もしやと思って真っ先に来てみたわけ。
They sent me a URL that led me to a map of this place. I thought she might be here, so I came right over.
そしたら銃声がしたからびっくりしたっつーの。
And I heard a gunshot, and it really scared me. Dara's whole body was covered in sweat. Even as he spoke, large beads were appearing on his forehead. He must have really hurried.
で、鈴葉、その銃は何なん？
So, Suzuha, what's with that gun?
いや、鈴葉は別に何も。
Oh, Suzuha wasn't actually...
何もなかったら銃なんて撃たないっしょ、上皇。
You wouldn't fire a gun if you didn't have a reason, duh.
ほら、鈴葉、話してみるといいのだぜ。
Come on, Suzuha, out with it. Now, this is Daru getting a lot more bullish. I like this. He's basically telling Okabe to stay the fuck out of it. It's between dad and his daughter. I like that. Big respect.
父さんだって本当は分かってるくせに。
Dad, you know what it is.
何が？
What's that?
世界線が変動したことだよ。ロシアがタイムマシンの実験を始めたんだ。
The world line changed. Russia started experimenting with a time machine.
それって確定なん？
You sure?
だから焦ってるんじゃないか。
That's why I'm doing this!
このままじゃ何もかも終わりなんだ。
At this rate, it'll be too late to do anything! I do like the intense look they've given Suzuha and the art style here. Has a very Nikita, the female assassin kind of look to it, which is awesome.
シュタインズゲートに到達できない。第三次世界大戦も防げない。
We won't reach Steins Gate! We won't be able to stop the Third World War!
大勢の人が死んで、母さんも死んで、 何もかも回避できない。
Lots of people will die. Mom will die. And I won't be able to stop any of
そ
it.
れは困るよ。
That'd be really bad.
でもだからってさ、オカリンを脅して無理やり過去へ連れて行ったとして、それでうまくいくわけ？
But still, even if you threaten Ocarine and force him to get back to the past with you, is that really going to work? Dara's normally easygoing expression had suddenly turned
タ
serious.
イムマシンや世界線のことを研究し始めて、なんとなく分かってきたんだよね。
Since I've started to research the time machine and world lines, I've kind of figured something out.
オカリンの言う通り、普通のやり方じゃ何度やってもマキセ氏の命を救うことなんてできないんじゃないかって。
I think Ocarine might be right, and it may be impossible to save Makisashi the normal way.
父さんまで何を言って。
Now you're saying it too, Dad!
世界線のルールや因果率がそんな簡単に変えられるんなら、オカリンの言うアルファ世界線でマユ氏の命だって救えたはずっしょ。
If the rules and causality of the world lines could be changed that easily, Ocarine should have been able to save Mayashi in the Alpha world line, right? So go on, now let's have a look at the the causality. The school of thought that says that all things have a cause and effect. This idea is at the core of the relativity theory. However, it has been observed in the microscale world of quantum mechanics that causality does not always apply. I'll do a quick save while I can as well, in the midst of Pandora's box. And I see agree the voice actors do wonders to the... They do, you can really feel the desperation. It's nice to see the tonal shift with Daru. I really like it.
どうしたらいいって言うんだ。
Dad, what am I supposed to do? Daru brought his fist up to his chest.
どうすべきかを僕らは研究してるわけっしょ。
That's what we're researching, right?
でももう時間が。
But, there's no time!
大丈夫、僕に任せとけって。絶対に何とかしてみせる。
It's okay. Just leave it to me. I'll figure something out. I promise.
たまには父さんの言うことも素直に聞いてほしいのだぜ。
I wish you'd listen to your dad once in a while. Dara's voice was strong and kind, in a way you'd never imagined he was capable of. He softly took the gun from Suzuha's hands. She didn't resist.
ほら、銃なんかよりもっと大切なものを忘れてるよ。今日みたいな寒い日にこそこれを使うべき。
Here, you forgot something that's way more important than a gun. On cold days like today, you should be wearing these. It'll be the mittens from the Christmas party. And meanwhile, Queen's jumped on the chat saying, finally here, good evening to you. You've missed a very interesting story, shall we say. Very, very interesting. Dara took something out of his pocket. He pressed it into Suzuha's hands. Yay, I was right. It was a pair of handmade gloves. The present Yuki had given her at Christmas party. I remembered it well.
私
I... When he gave her the gloves, warm tears started to flow down her face.
どうしていいのかわかんなくなっちゃった。
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do anymore. Yeah.
助けて父さん助けてお願い。
Help me, Dad. Help me, please. Suzuha's shoulders shook as the tears poured down. I turned my eyes towards the time machine, a silhouette in the darkness.
俺はもう乗らないって決めたんだ。
I decided that I'm not getting back in that thing. No matter what Daru said, no matter how Suzuha threatened me, I wasn't going back to the past. I can't look back. The next thing she knew, Suzuha was inside the time machine, wrapped up in a blanket. It's amazing it's getting that level of emotion out of you, Chaotic. It's pretty awesome, it must be said. Avian, very well timed there, but hey, you got your wish. That's all I'm going to say, you got your wish. She must have been crying a lot, because she hadn't even noticed that she'd come inside the time machine, or that Okabe had left. Her dad was next to her. He was also wrapped up in a blanket, looking at her.
落ち着いた?
Oh, that's a cute scene, isn't it? Have you calmed down?
今何時?
What time is it? She wiped away the tears as she asked.
もうすぐ日付が変わるよ。
It's almost a new day.
ごめん。こんな時間まで付き合わせて。
Sorry to keep you out this late.
平気平気。
It's fine, it's fine.
前にも言ったっしょ。父さんのこといくらでも頼っていいのだぜって。
I told you before. You can always count on your dad. Yeah. The time machine's hatch was still open, and cold air was pouring in. Each time they spoke, they could see their breath turn white. Yeah, I don't think those blankets will do much when the conditions are that bad. I've been there. Wrapped in 4 layers are still freezing. Last week when it was snowing, actually. The machine was still silent. They could use the life support system in the cockpit to keep out the cold, but she didn't want to waste the energy. She rubbed her cheeks with her glove-covered hands. The gloves Yuki had given her were very warm, and her hands were the one part of her that wasn't cold.
僕さ、いつか必ずオカリンも僕らと一緒に、いや違うな。僕らの先頭に立って指揮を取ってくれるって信じてるんだよね。
You know, I think someday Okarin's going to work with us. No, he's going to be our leader. Huh? Suzuha was a little surprised to see Daru speaking seriously. Normally, all he ever did was screw around.
未来ガジェット研究所はオカリンがいてこそだから。
The Future Gadget Lab only exists because of Okarin.
今はちょっと腐ってるけど、きっと立ち直る。同時に法王院京馬も蘇るわけ。不死鳥の名は伊達じゃない的な、中二病オツ的な。
He's having a hard time right now, but he'll get over it. And then Harin Kiyoma will revive. You know, the name Phoenix isn't just for show.
その時が来たら、多分オカリンは自分からタイムマシンに乗るよ。鈴葉に言われなくってもね。
And when that time comes, Okarin will probably get in the time machine himself, without needing you to tell him to. Suzuha realized Daru was trying to make her feel better. Suddenly, deep in her heart, she felt a little warmer.
父さん、すごく恥ずかしいこと言ってるの自覚してる？
Dad, do you realize how embarrassing the things you're saying are?
うわ、ですよね。
Yeah, you're right.
オカリン本人の前じゃ口が裂けても言えないな。
No way I could say that in front of Okarin.
私、明日までに手紙書くよ。オカリンおじさんに。
I'm going to write a letter to Uncle Okarin before tomorrow.
直接顔見て話すと、また変な感じになっちゃうから。
If I try to talk to him directly, I'll end up acting weird again.
ごめんなさいっていうのと、
I'll tell him I'm sorry.
もうちょっとだけもがいてみるって。
And I'm going to keep fighting a little
だ
longer.
から、オカリンおじさんにも考えてみてほしいって。
So I want him to just think about it.
そうは言っても、実はもうあんまり時間はないんだけど。
But still, there's really not a lot of time left.
時間ないって ロシアが実験を開始したから？
Not a lot of time. Because Russia started their experiments?
実はタイムマシンを制御してる量子コンピューターの内蔵電池もうすぐ切れそうなんだ。
You see, the internal battery for the quantum computer that controls the time machine is just about to run out. Quick save while I can. So yes, apparently a quantum computer is a computer capable of using quantum mechanical overlapping to form parallel processing. Yep, so instead of switching between 0 and 1 to perform the calculations, a quantum computer calculates the signals at the same time, which is much faster, to the point you can change everything about the world that's been known. Practical quantum computers have not yet been built. Allegedly.
マジ？
Seriously?
前に話したよね。かがりを探すために1998年から何度もマシンを使ったって。
I told you I used the machine a lot starting in 1998 in order to look for Kagari.
それは当初の計画にはなかった行動なんだ。
That wasn't part of the original plan.
当然マシンを制御するコンピューターの使用回数も予定より多くなって。
Of course, that meant I had to use the computer that controls the machine more than I meant to.
それでバッテリーが消耗したっつうことか。
And that drained the battery.
マシンそのものの燃料よりそっちの方が深刻なんだよ。マシンを正確に制御してジャンプさせることが難しくなる。
The battery is actually closer to running out than the fuel. It'll be hard to make the machine jump the way it's supposed to.
バッテリーだったら交換とか充電とかすればいいんじゃね？
If it's just a battery, can we swap it or recharge it?
無理だよ。
No.
ちょっとだけその内蔵電池見させてもらっていいかな？
Can I take a little look at it? Cesar nodded and points to a piece of the core of the machine. Yeah, it's interesting point you make there, Queen, saying that when Daru is serious, you know, it's really, really bad, but when he's screwing around, everything's okay. It's an interesting narrative hook and an interesting narrative style. Daru leaned his huge body forward to take a look, but soon he gave out a moan of confusion.
なんぞこれ？
What is this thing? The battery was the same size as a car's, but it was the product of 2036's technology, and Daru lived in the year 2010. There was probably no way he could understand it. From Daru's perspective, it might as well have been a black box of unknown technology. A quick look wouldn't tell him anything about how it was built or how it would work. That was one reason why Scissorhar had agreed to let him look at it. It's like, yeah, you can take a look at it. It's not going to mean bollocks to you, but fine, knock yourself out, take a look.
2010年の技術で何とかするのは無理だと思う。
I don't think you can do anything with 2010's technology.
言うなればそれは使い切りの電池と同じ状態ってこと。充電も交換もできない。
It's basically the same as a disposable battery. You can't charge it and you can't swap it out.
この時代のバッテリーか発電機に換装するのは？
Can you replace it with a battery or a generator from this time? Scissorhar shook her head helplessly. It'd be like trying to replace a 1.2 gigawatts flux capacitor with copper wire. Where have I seen that before?
とっくに試したよ。でも不可能だった。
I tried that a long time ago, but it didn't work.
ルミ姉さんに頼んで車のバッテリーを用意してもらったんだ。トラックとかに積まれてる大きなやつ。
I asked Big Sis Rumi to get me a car battery. One of the big ones they use in trucks.
繋いでみたら1秒持たなかった。
I hacked it up and it didn't last a second.
なんだと？
What did you just say?
ガソリンを使う発電機も試してみたけどそれもダメだった。
I tried a gas-powered generator and it didn't work either.
ガソリンが何ガロン必要なのか見当もつかない。だいたいそんな量のガソリン マシンには積めないし。
I can't even imagine how much gasoline you'd need. And we can't fit that much gas inside the machine anyway.
ルミ姉さんね、ものすごく無理をしてくれて、最新の燃料電池まで手に入れてくれたんだよ。
Big Sis Rumi went through a lot of trouble to get me one of the latest fuel cell batteries. But even that wasn't good enough.
未来の技術ってすげえのな。こんな小さなものがそんな大電力を賄ってるっつうわけ？
Future tech is amazing. All that power in something this small.
Of course, that's how technology advances, because if you go back to a classic American car, like a Dodge Charger or a Chevrolet Corvette or a Ford Mustang, they'd have like 5.7 to 7 litre V8 engines, and they'd get something like 200 brake horsepower. A Formula 1 engine is a V6 1.6 litre that can get 1,000 brake horsepower. It just shows how much technology ticks on. Itaru was staring in amazement at a futuristic battery.
SF 映画みたく生ゴミを電気に変えられたらな。
Sorry Daru, I got there first with that joke. I'll beat you to it. If only we could use garbage as fuel, like in that one science fiction movie.
で、このバッテリー、あとどれくらい持ちそうなん？
So, how long is it gonna last?
多分あと1回か2回ジャンプしたらそれで終わり。
Probably 1 or 2 more jumps at most.
たったそれだけ？
That's all?
しかもこうやってマシンが停止してる間もさ、重力場や座標点の計測装置なんかはずっと動いてるから、ジャンプしなくてもいずれ電池切れになる。
And even while the machine's shut down, it's still calculating gravity fields and positional coordinates constantly. Even if we don't jump, the battery will eventually run out.
残ったバッテリーで正確なジャンプをするにはあと半年が限界だろうね。
We got another 6 months of battery at most before we lose the ability to do an accurate jump.
マキセ・クリスを救いに行けるタイミングもそこまでってことになる。
So that's all the time we have to save Makise Kurisu.
And of course, by saving Makise, you're killing Miyushi. So it's finding the gap between, and that reinforces my idea that this game is essentially meant to take place in the final chapter and be the catalyst for when he goes back in time to essentially save her. I'm assuming that's how the good ending works. Possibly a gigantic spoiler there, by the way, people, but you know me and my theories? That often happens. Suzuha grabbed onto Itaru's back and took a deep breath. It was squishy and felt good. Yeah. I know it's meant to say that she's giving him a hug, but the way that's written is just wrong. Not well described.
バッテリーが切れてマシンのコントロールを失ったらどうなるんだろう。
What happens if the battery runs out and we can't control the machine?
カーブラックホールの制御も効かなくなるし、イベントホライゾンの向こうから永遠に戻ってこられないとか。
We lose control of the Kerr black hole and are trapped beyond the event horizon for eternity.
So let's get the tips for these two then. So the event horizon, known also as a Schwarzschild radius, a point past which no information can be transmitted. Information transmission occurs via light and electromagnetic waves, but the incredible gravity at the centre of a black hole makes it impossible for even light to escape. The boundary at which this occurs is the event horizon. Anything that occurs inside an event horizon cannot be observed from the outside. Since no light can escape, the centre of a black hole appears black. And of course, Kerr black hole is a black hole whose existence is predicted by current theories of physics. Unlike other black holes, the singularity at its centre rotates, while other black holes have their singularities at a single point. The Kerr black hole's singularity is a ring. Yeah, exactly, Avian. That's what I was thinking. Basically, it's the story of how he gets to that point where from the future he sends the message back to himself. It makes perfect sense. For sure.
縁起でもないこと言ったらダメだお。
Don't even say that stuff. It's bad luck.
ごめん。
Yeah, sorry.
でも、そこってさ、どんな場所なのかな。
But I wonder what it's like.
今みたいに静かな時間が永遠に続くのかな。
I wonder if it's calm and quiet like this, and it just stays that way for eternity. She's drifting in and out of consciousness, about to fall asleep.
それでもいいな。
Maybe that wouldn't be so bad. As she clung to her father's warm back, Scissorhair started to feel very sleepy. If she let her guard down for a moment, she was sure to fall asleep. She'd been trained to fight it on the battlefield, but this wasn't the battlefield, and she was exhausted from crying. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad to let herself sleep once in a while. She sat down and held her knees like a child, then softly closed her eyes.
そっか。結局鈴葉はこの夏までに必ず行っちゃうんだな。たとえオカリンがどんな結論を出すとしても。
I see. So Scissorhair's leaving before summer ends, no matter what Ocarine decides. Just before she fell asleep, she thought she heard her father talking to himself. And we're shifting to Okabe again. I had a feeling we might do. Oh, Maho's back.
これはまさにパラダイス。
This is truly paradise! Here we go, she's a complete techno geek. Maho's eyes were shining like a little girl's. Not many girls would look like that if you brought them to a place like this. I was the one who brought her here, but she seemed to have forgotten about me entirely. She was wandering down the narrow corridors where all the computer parts were, as if in a daze. Then she came to a stop in front of one of them. Inside the shop were lots of little plastic bins, filled with junk parts of all sizes. They'd been taken off with discarded PCs and appliances. Each of them was obviously dirty, and lots of them were covered in dust.
これ一体何の基板かしら。まるで美術品みたいに美しいパターンをしているわ。しかもアルミナ基板だなんて。
What's this board do, you think? It's got a beautiful pattern like a piece of art, and it's made out of aluminum. Oh, yeah.
IFX008 イメージセンサーですって。
What? An IFX008 image sensor?
信じられない。博物館にあってもおかしくないものがなんでこんなところに転がっているの。
I can't believe it! This belongs in a museum! What's it doing here? Yeah?
秋葉原。歴史に勝る場所だわ。
I'm just finding it funny that Makise's staring with a complete dead stare there, not saying a sodding word, while Maho's absolutely losing her shit over these random parts. Also, what about tonal shift? They've gone for this big reflexive thing about time travelling to gushing over junk parts and PCs. Akihaba's even more amazing than I'd heard! Watching the ecstasy on Maho's face creeped me out a little.
真帆先輩は実はこういう人なのよ。
This is who Maho really is. Ah, she finally speaks. And meanwhile, Snowy are jumping in saying, hey, guess you're late to the party. Hey, as I say, that's why the archive stream's there, mate. You can check them out anytime you like. How have you been doing? What have you been up to? Keep yourself busy? I'm going to be going on slightly longer tonight, because I don't have to go to work in the office tomorrow. Makise spoke from inside my phone. Maho had said she wanted to go out with Makise today. And so I ended up going on a strange date with two girls at once. Oh, here we go. The Harem King has arrived, people. I can, 'cause I'm the king.
Yes, last time I had multiple girls coming after me at once, you all saw what happened at the Culture Festival. I had the best bros in the world that day. This might be another test of Amadeus's capabilities.
俺もここは何度か来たことがあるが、あんな顔してパートをめでる人間にはこれまで一人しかお目にかかったことがない。
I've been here a few times, but I've only ever seen one other person stare lovingly at computer parts like that.
分かった。橋田さんのことでしょ。
I know, you're talking about Daru, right?
ああ。
Yeah.
さすがにあの人と同類扱いするのは先輩がかわいそうよ。
Oh, bing, 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 bing. Makise bringing the fire, even when she's an AI. I feel kind of bad for Maho, if you're comparing her to him.
あんたの話を聞く限りだと、橋田さんってとんでもない変態だから。
From what you said, he's an incredible pervert. No! He's a perverted gentleman. Why did I play that straight? Why?
そうだな。ヒヤジョさんに失礼だった。
That's right. That was rude to Hyajo. It was early afternoon on a Sunday. There was a reason I'd come with Maho to the computer parts shop. That's Leskinen and Maho were heading back to America in a few days. She was leaving soon, so she wanted me to show her around Akihabara like I promised. That's what her message had said. Yep, can't get access to my phone and clicking the button like man, it's not working. So we met in front of the station in the morning, and I asked her where she wanted to go. This was the result. By the way, our first stop was Yodobash, and our second, Soft Map. Yep, so Yodobash, as I've said before, is a huge electronics department store in Japan. Their weird theme is that they look like stadiums, even though they're not stadiums. And Soft Map is one of the major mobile phone providers, and SoftBank are tied to them. I'd already taken her to a lot of used PC and retro PC shops tucked away in tiny alleys.
ヒヤジョさんはこういうパーツが好きなのか？
Do you like these kind of computer parts, Hyajo?
パーツというか組み立てるものが好きなのね。子供の頃は日本製のプラスティックモデルをよく作ったわ。
It's not the parts, really. I just like building things. I used to make plastic models all the time when I was a kid. So that'll be the likes of, what they called? Not Funsoft. It's Airfix. Airfix models. So yeah, basically like, put together following a model. They are annoying. Building models you have to have a lot of patience for. Patience I simply didn't have.
ゲルマニウムラジオなんかも組み立てた口ですか？
Did you make germanium radio and stuff? Germanium radio? Is that like a flower radio? Ah, so it uses a germanium diode as a rectifier and requires no power supply. So it can also refer to kits used to build them, since they're simple enough for anyone to build. They're a common choice at elementary school summer break projects. Not when I was a kid, they weren't. We didn't make radios when I was a kid.
ハンダ付けでよくやけどをしたものよ。
I burnt myself soldering all the time. Yes, as did I. Soldering irons are a pain. They literally burn your fingertips off. They are so easy to burn yourself with.
私もです。
Me too.
みんな同じなのね。
I guess everybody's the same way, aren't they? Probably not everybody. Actually, I'd assume it was a minority of people who'd soldered in their homes growing up. Yes, in homes maybe, but in high school, we had electronics technology class. Boring.
ずっと見ていたい。どうして私もっと早くここに来なかったのかしら。
Wow! I could stare at this stuff forever! Why didn't I come sooner, I wonder? It felt like she was never going to leave unless I dragged her out. I finally managed to succeed in getting her away from the parts shop by telling her it was time to eat. We went out to the main road. This area was close to the station, so it was especially crowded. It doesn't look very crowded to me. I mean, look at the sidewalk there. It's completely empty of people. There's not a soul in fucking sight. What are you talking about? There's no one there.
Thanks to the crowds of people waiting to cross the street, you couldn't even walk in a straight line. Again, what crowds? Where are these crowds? I want to see them. Now then, where to eat? My first idea was May Queen Nyan, but after the way she reacted last time, it was probably best to avoid it. Are we going back to the greasy spoon place that does noodles? Still, Sampo wasn't a good choice for someone new to Akihabara. Gansen? Or maybe Kitchenjiro? Go-Go Curry would work too. Go-Go Curry, that sounds like Sojiro's curry from Persona 5. Yep, curry chain based out of Kanazawa Ishikawa. Stores all over Japan, primarily in the northern and eastern parts of the country. Offers Kanazawa curry, which is famous for its fixed roux and katsu and cabbage. There's Kitchenjiro, restaurant chain found in downtown Tokyo, as well as Kansai, popular combo of food, and large delicious menu. Yeah, fair enough. And solder, yep. Mixture closely made of lead and tin used to join metal components together. And it burns. A lot. As I stood there thinking... Ow! Huh? Maho stopped moving in front of the arcade directly ahead of us. Evidently, she was looking at the crane games on the first floor. Can we take a little look inside? I nodded. And do I see a lot of Oopas here? I think I do. There they are, the Rhinet Access Battlers. Also, very cleverly, can you see here? They very cleverly hidden the Sega logo, but done enough to keep it away from copyright. I really am a nerd. I really am. Maho walked up to the crane game and pressed her face against the glass like a kid. Inside the glass were characters from @channel memes. All the different... Wait, what? Capture machines that have... toys based off memes? What? Maybe Maho was a secret @channel like Makise. They were pretty close, so it was possible. I leaned over to Maho and whispered a magic spell into her ear. Nulpo. It's old @channel slang. Started on the programming board as a shortening of null pointer, and as of now has no meaning whatsoever. Whenever someone says it, it's tradition for someone else to respond with "Gah!"
Hi?
Huh? I just confused her. What's a null... What?
なんでもない。忘れてくれ。
Nothing. Forget it. You call them clever bastards for that one, eh, Queen? Well, if you're going to make money out of it, you might as well. Oh, even Makise's started quieting down. Makise was glaring cold daggers at me from inside the smartphone, but I decided to ignore it. Hyajo, do you want that stuffed animal? Yeah, it's cute, isn't it, Makise? What? Maho? What? Why do you look so flustered? It's nothing.
ちょっと意外だな。さっきパーツが好きって言ってたから、感性としては男に近いのかもって思ってた。
I'm a little surprised, honestly. You just said you liked computer parts, so I figured your taste would be more boyish. Yeah, because you like computer parts, it means that you suddenly have to be into, like, the NFL and everything, don't you? Dude, it's not 1984 anymore. Okabe, you need to learn some tact. Say something romantic, like, the gap between my expectations and your reality is really cute. Is that romantic?
I get the feeling if I said that to anybody, they want to punch me in the face. Or kick me in the dick. Or both. Hundreds of times over.
あ、すまない。
Sorry.
いいわよ別に。
It's fine, really.
実はね、このぬいぐるみクリスがベッドルームに置いていたのよ。
Actually, Makise had one of these stuffed animals in her bedroom.
そうなのか？
Did she?
先輩。
Maho!
もしかして通販か何かでアメリカまで取り寄せてたのか？
Did she buy it off the internet and have it shipped to America?
別にどうだっていいでしょ。
Does it really matter?
さすが隠れアットチャンネラーだな。
I guess you could tell she's a secret at channeler.
何よ、アットチャンネラーって聞いたことない。
What's an at channeler? Never heard of it.
ヌルポ。
Nulpo.
Gah!
Even as part of Amadeus, she hadn't changed a bit.
ヒアジョーさん、クリスはこれがなんていうキャラなのか教えてくれたか？
Hyajo, did Carissa ever tell you what kind of character this was?
いいえ、何度か聞いてみたけど永遠とはぐらかされたわ。
No, I asked several times and you kept dodging the question.
だろうな。
I'm sure.
だからずっと気になっていたのよ。
So I always kind of wondered.
岡部さんは知っているの？
Do you know, Okabe?
まあ。
Well,
オカベ
Okabe!
a chill ran down my spine as I heard the angry voice from the smartphone.
俺も知らないんだ。
I don't actually know.
そう。
I see.
Sheesh. I defended your honor, Makase. You better be grateful.
ちょっと挑戦していいかしら。
Can I give it a try?
Oh, if you got 100 yen coin, knock yourself out. Don't think I'm paying for it. I'm not falling for that one. Last time that happened, I broke the universe. And hey, she's done it as well. She had to pay for it herself. Oh, God. Have I just accidentally predicted what's going to happen? She's going to get it and it's going to cause a butterfly effect. I fucking hope not. Maho took her wallet out of her pocket and put 100 yen coin into the machine.
このアームを左右と前後に操作してぬいぐるみをつかめばいいのね。
You move this arm back and forth to grab the stuffed animal, right?
もしかして初めてなのか？
Have you never done this before? You say that Makise can't attack from the phone? I'm not so sure. Something tells me she's got something in her that's more sentient than when she's being let on. I just don't know what it is.
真帆先輩はレースゲームしかやらないですもんね。
Maho only ever plays racing games.
そういうこと。
That's right.
Oh, wow. The contrast here is hilarious. He has this total, just get me out of here for God's sake, kind of face, while she's like, oh, I'm coming for you now. You are going to be mine. Maho nodded and pushed the control button, managing to move the arm directly over her target. She smiled, satisfied.
簡単なものね。あとはアームが降りて勝手に掴んでくれるんでしょ？
It's simple. Now you just wait for the arm to automatically grab it, right?
あ、いや、普通はそうなんだが。
Oh, yeah. Normally, yeah.
Yeah?
The arm went straight for the doll, but the angle was slightly off, and it didn't grab it right.
どういうことなの？
What the fuck is that? What on earth were they thinking? That's gonna haunt me in my sleep, that face. That really is. What on earth is that? That doesn't make sense. What just happened? That's what happens your first time. Maho gave it several more tries, but didn't seem to get the hang of it, because those machines are fucking rigged. If you want to win one of those plushies, be prepared to spend about 3,000 yen. No, I haven't done it, but I've seen people do it. Ah! Yeah, you say it's the look of someone frustrated with the game. That was the look of me when the Harem Queen happened in Revelations Persona. But you couldn't see it because my webcam wasn't working. Sorry, not sorry. She groaned and took her last 300 yen to the back of the arcade. She walked over to a game with a red and white two-tone Formula 1 car on the side of the cabinet. She slid inside, still angry. Yeah, it's true actually, yeah, for once Okabe's the one you've got no chill with. It's crazy, isn't it? I remembered that one was a CG racing game based off of real circuits. 2015 Formula 1 car real circuits?
Okabe.
Okabe!
Huh? なんだ?
What is it?
ここは男らしさを見せるところよ.
Now's your chance to show your manliness.
男らしさ?
My manliness?
先輩の代わりにあんたがぬいぐるみを手に入れなさいっていうこと。
Get that stuffed animal that Maho couldn't. I mean... Ah, yes, she saw me with the Snow Queen. Ah, yes. I'd forgotten all about that.
Oh, なるほど.
Oh, I see. And then give it to Marco. Maho was what she was doing. Why do I keep saying Mako? I'm not playing Final Fantasy! And then give it to Maho was what she was trying to say. Manliness aside, after seeing how badly she wanted it, I did want to try and help her. I took some coins out of my pocket and checked how much money I was carrying. Okay, Abe is playing the crane game. He's gonna cause the butterfly effect, isn't he? Even so, I was sure I could do better than Maho. Ouch, savage dude. May as well give it a try. Alright. I didn't think it'd actually simulate the crane going down. Big fat nothing. No, no, he's trying again. Oh, the game was like, ha 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 ha, too bad. And so, after trying several times, whether it was luck or skill, I managed to get the stuffed animal easier than I'd expected.
Yes.
Okay. Nice. I stuffed it into a bag and went back to the racing games Maho was playing. For some reason, there was a crowd of around 10 people around it. I've done this, where you've been caning the game. I've done it where you've been... I was once playing... I was in Blackpool, in a theme park, and they had an original Time Crisis cabinet, and I put it in 1 credit, beating the game, finished the game. I was about 30 seconds quicker than the top time. I turned around and there were 30 kids watching. I didn't even know they were there, I'm just there. King of the light gun mods. Wow, who is that girl? Don't ask me.
ありえないテクだぞ。
Is she in elementary school? I can't believe how good she is!
これレコード出るんじゃね？
He's just set a new record! The crowd was whispering to one another. All of them seemed to be amazed. I made my way into the crowd and looked at the screen. The game Maho playing was one of those where you had to clear each stage in a set time, or else it would be game over. In other words, outrun. With each race, the course got more and more difficult, and she was placing first every time with ease. As the crowd watched in awe, she finally made it to the end of the last stage, well ahead of the other racers. And she'd set a new record. Yeah. She had a satisfied smile on her face as she looked at the flashy congratulations graphic on the ending screen. Then she noticed the crowd around her and her body jerked. Congratulations! You set the record for our store! An arcade employee walked over to Maho and started to clap. Then the crowd started to clap as well. Huh? Maho's face went beet red. I should probably help her. I pushed my way through the crowd and grabbed her hand to pull her up. That's true, Queen. Yep, Makase did say that Maho exclusively played racing games, and it's definitely shown exactly how good she is. Let's go. Oh, yeah! I'd never seen her this obedient before. We made our way out through the hustle and bustle, and finally out of the arcade. Maho sighed in relief. That was careless of me.
何が？
What was?
つい熱くなってしまって本気を出してしまったの。
I got mad, and I got serious.
俺のせいか？
Because of this, I handed her the bag with my prize in it.
何？
What? She opened the bag and took out the stuffed animal.
これ取れたの？
Yes! You got it?
運が良くてね。君にプレゼントするよ。
I got lucky. You can have it as a present.
いいの？
Really?
俺が持ってても仕方ない。
It won't do me any good.
そう？じゃあ遠慮なくいただくわ。
Really? Okay, I'll take it then. Ma hugged the doll tight to her chest with the innocent smile of a child. Seeing how happy she was made me happy too.
クリスが亡くなった後ね。お母さんから形見をいろいろともらったわ。
After Makise died, her mom showed me a lot of the things she left behind.
けどこれはクリスがとても可愛がっていたからってお母さん自分のベッドルームに飾っていたのよ。
Wow, Maho's just casually let out that Makise's dead. Does the AI Makise even know that? This could get really interesting very quickly. But this was something Makise really loved. Her mom kept it in her own bedroom. If you didn't know it was from an at-channel meme, it was actually pretty cute. I could see her keeping it as a memory of her daughter.
だけどクリスの実家がねああいうことになってぬいぐるみも燃えてしまったと思うのきっと。
But after what happened to Makise's house, I'm sure it burned up too. Oh.
先輩
Maho.
だからこれはアメリカのお母さんにプレゼントしていいかしら。
So can I give this to her mom in America?
もちろん。喜んでもらえるならそれが一番いい。
Of course. If you think she'll like it, that's what would be best.
ありがとう。
Thanks.
さてと次はどうする？他に見てみたいところはあるか？
Okay, what next? Any place else you want to visit?
と言ってもアニメやゲームのショップなんかは興味ないよな。
Though I guess she wouldn't be interested in anime or game stores. Yeah, because she didn't just like obliterate the arcade record on a game because she doesn't like games.
クリス、悪いけどしばらく岡部さんと二人きりにしてくれる？
Makise, I'm sorry, but can you leave me alone with Okabe for a while?
先輩、ついに自分の気持ちに素直になることにしたんですね。
Maho, you finally decided to be honest with yourself.
岡部、ちゃんとしなさいよ。
Okabe, don't screw this up. Yeah,
I'm sure Okabe's liking the fact that the one girl he loved is trying to set him up with somebody else from beyond the grave. I'm sure he's really happy about this. I love these kind of games. They go down tangents that really just you wouldn't think of. Huh?
先輩、頑張って。それじゃあ。
good luck, Maho. Bye.
ヒヤジョウさん。
Hyajo.
行きたい場所もう一つあるんだけれど。
There's one more place I want to go.
そうか。どこだ？
Yeah? Where is it? Is she going to say the lab? The future science laboratory? Is this someplace she didn't want Makise knowing about?
あそこよ。わかるでしょ？
You can guess where, right?
The smile was gone from Maho's face. She looked like she'd come to some kind of decision. And then I realized where she wanted to go.
ラジカンに連れて行って。
Ah, no, the radio building. Okay.
Take me to the radio building.
Of course, where Makise was killed. That makes sense. Of course. The radio building. And she wanted me to take her there. I understood immediately. Because that was where Makise Karisu had died. I'd gone up to the roof several times since then, but she hadn't... I don't think he's actually been to the floor where he found her body. That could be really interesting, see if anything else has changed. It really could. The time machine was there, and Suzuhara and Daru would go up once in a while to do maintenance. Just a few days ago, Suzuhara called me out there and pointed a gun in my face. But even so, I'd never been to that storeroom on the 8th floor where it had happened. I couldn't bring myself to do it. And yeah, that's understandable. I want to return to the site where someone I cared about deeply was killed. Where I'd been the one to shove a knife through someone. Yeah, I can understand why. I think it'd be very difficult. Just remembering what happened was enough to cause a severe flashback. There was no way I could visit the site of her death.
大丈夫。ずいぶん顔色が悪いけれど。
Are you okay? You look really pale.
クリスのこと思い出してしまうの？
Are you thinking about Makise?
そうだろうな。
Yeah, I guess so.
辛いならついてこなくてもいいわ。私一人で行くから。
You don't have to come with me if it's going to be hard for you. I'll go by myself.
But her face was colourless. Going there had to be hard on her, too. But even so, she was trying to come to grips with Makise's death. I wanted to help her remember our friend. The radio building was going to be renovated. There wasn't a lot of time.
いや、
No,
一緒に行くよ。
I'll go with you. Half of the shops had already been moved to another building to make way for the renovation. But many of the shops on the 7th floor were still open, including the place where he got the metal upar. Six months ago, on July 28th, I killed Karisu on the floor just above where I was standing. With my own hands.
ここなの？
Is this the place?
いや、事件があったのは この上の階だと聞いている。
No. It happened on the next floor. That's what I was told. Yeah, looks like there's no things. I'm not even trying to call anybody. And because she was asked to like not bring Carissa in, I'm not gonna ring her. I'm not gonna do that. I wasn't supposed to have been at the scene of Carissa's death. I'd already asked Mayuri and Daru not to tell anyone.
上には何が？
What's upstairs?
イベント会場と、あとは倉庫とかになってる。
An event hall. And some storerooms and stuff.
行ってみてもいいのかしら？
Can we go out there?
今は立ち入り禁止のはず。
It should be off limits right now. But the rope that always blocked off the way to the 8th floor wasn't there today. I could hear loud voices and laughter from above. Since it was a day off, there must have been some kind of event going on upstairs.
大丈夫そうね。
It looks like it's okay. Maho headed up the stairs first. I slowly dragged myself up the stairs. We passed by the event hall and into the back. It looked like there was no one around. Nothing had changed in 6 months.
ここだ。
This is it. There were no lights on, and the place seemed dark and lonely. This time, the storeroom was locked.
そう。こんな場所で。
I see. So it was a place like this. I could see her lips trembling as she whispered. It seemed strange. This was the place where Makise had died, covered in blood, and yet, nearby, the rest of the world continued on like it didn't care. And why would it do that? It doesn't make sense, does it? I suppose the crime scene had been cleaned up after 6 months, but it still seems a bit unusual. Why do I get the feeling that something's going to happen now? And now I'd come back, even though this was where the one I loved had died.
もどかしいわ。
It's frustrating.
私は物理学者ではないから、相対性理論のことを詳細に理解しているわけではないけれど。
I'm not a physicist, so I don't know all there is to know about relativity theory, but...
時間と空間が同列だというのなら、なぜ空間と同じように時間も容易に移動できないのかしらね。
If space and time are essentially the same thing, then why can't we move through time as easily as we can move through space?
今私たちは空間的にはクリスの死と同じ軸上にいるのよ。なのに時間軸がほんの少しずれているというだけで手出しすることすら叶わない。
Spatially, we're on the same axis as Makise's death, but that tiny little gap on the temporal axis means there's nothing we can do about it.
あなた、この前クリスに、アマデウスの方だけど、面白い質問をしたわよね。
You asked Makise, oh, I mean, the Amadeus Makise, an interesting question before.
タイムマシンは作れるかどうかって。
Whether it was possible to create a time machine.
あ
Yeah.
ぜひ研究してみてほしいわ。真っ先に私が友人テストに名乗り出るから。
I'd love it if you could look into it. I'd volunteer for the first man test. I couldn't tell from the tone of her voice if she was serious or joking. She laughed sadly. Time machines are real, you know. And there's one right above us. What would she do if I told her that? Would she blame me for giving up on saving Makise and say she'd go back to the past herself?
岡部さん、クリスが亡くなった時の状況について教えてくれない？
Okabe, can you tell me about how Makise died?
私、詳しくは知らないの。
I don't know the details.
俺だってろくに知らないよ。前にそう話さなかったか？
I don't really know myself. Didn't I tell you that before?
でも、 アメリカにいた私よりは詳しいでしょ。
But you know more than I do, right? I was in America.
And yes, Chaotic, triggering Okabe, this could get very ugly quickly, couldn't it?
クリスはどうしてこんなところに来たのかしら。
What was Makise doing in a place like this?
クリスが死んだ時、すぐそこのイベントホールでは今日みたいにイベントが行われていたそうね。
On the day she died, there was an event going on like this one happening now, right?
We could hear the occasional sounds of laughter coming from the event hall.
中鉢博士、去年の夏ニュースになった。
That's an Akabachi. It made the news last summer.
ロシアに亡命してタイムマシンに関する論文を書いたって。
I heard that he sought asylum in Russia, and he wrote a paper on time machines.
その論文の内容はそれはひどいものだったらしいけれど、
Supposedly, the paper itself was terrible.
ただそれでピンときたのよ。アメリカのクリスの家に放火した連中もロシア語を話していた。
But that made me remember something. Those guys who set fire to Makise's house in America were speaking Russian.
これ偶然かしら。
Is that a coincidence, you think?
私は何らかの関連性があると思う。
I think the two events are connected somehow.
だから中鉢博士について調べようと思ったんだけど、不思議なことに驚くほど情報がないのよ。ネットで検索しても本名すら出てこない。
So I decided to look into Dr. Nakabachi. But strangely, there's barely any information on him. If you look online, you won't even find his real name.
中鉢博士について言及しているブログやサイトを見に行ってもほとんどは閉鎖してるわ。しかもこの半年ほどで立て続けに。
Most blogs and websites that talked about Dr. Nakabachi are gone now, and all of them disappeared in the last 6 months.
ねえ、一体クリスの周りで何が起きていたの？
Tell me, what the hell was Makise caught up in?
もしかして今もまだそれは続いているの？
Is it perhaps still going on?
あなたは何を隠しているの？
Are you hiding something?
Her eyes were pure and sought the truth. Makise used to get that exact same look in her eyes all the time. But
好奇心で足を突っ込まない方がいい。
you shouldn't get involved out of curiosity.
俺はもうたくさんだ。
I'm done with all this.
今更だわ。私は片足を突っ込んでしまっているのよ。
It's too late. I'm already involved.
それに考えてしまうのよ。この前襲われたのももしかすると私のせいじゃないかって。
And I've been wondering if the reason we were attacked before wasn't because of me.
君のせい？
Because of you.
狙われる理由があるのか？
Is there a reason someone would come after you?
私は
And then she paused for a moment.
私はクリスの遺産を持っている。
I have some of Makise's belongings.
Belongings? Some of Makise's belongings? What did she mean? Maho said that after Makise died, she'd gone to her home in America and received some of her belongings from her mom. Was she saying now that the attack was because of that? My mind began to race. Russia. Where Dr. Makabachi had sought asylum. Indeed, Chaotic, because she will have the laptop, the computer, which was brought to Daru to try and crack it. The people who attacked Makise's home spoke Russian. And just a few days ago, the Russians, probably, had experimented with changing the past. Suzuhara said that World War III was set off by the time machine. The time machine?
Nakabachi's paper. The paper he'd written about the time machine. The cause of the Third World War. A miraculous, nightmarish paper which would cause the deaths of 5.7 billion people. The time machine he'd discussed at his press conference was a rip-off of John Titor's. But the one in his paper was different. I'd never managed to read it though. But my guess was that Kurisu had showed him the original that she'd written on July 28th, and his paper was an inferior copy. Makise had written down instructions for making a time machine. I shuddered. I quickly booted up the line program on my smartphone. I paged through my chat logs. That hard drive and that laptop contained the data for the original version of Nakabachi's paper. Maybe Makise's paper. Ah! So is... So could her password is going to be that animal, isn't it? Going by the tips. What was it called again? I'll recognise it when I see it. Basically the plushie. There was a name for it that came from that channel. Nullpo, could that well be it? Nullpo. That channel slang. That'd make sense. That'd make a ton of sense. Kurisu's laptop and hard drive, which were given to Daru. Was the person who gave them to him? I looked at Maho. She looked back at me without smiling. And she nodded. Yeah, it was me. From Maho's perspective, there were too many things about Makise's death that didn't make sense. Maybe that was why she had decided to look into why Makise was killed. Of course, she had assumed there were hints hidden inside her laptop and hard drive. But if my hypothesis was right, that laptop was too dangerous to be allowed to exist. It was Pandora's box, with the power to unleash the Third World War. So roll title credits for the third chapter there, people. Yep, box given to mankind by the gods in Greek mythology. We were told to never open it, but a girl named Pandora let her curiosity get the best of her and opened it anyway. The box was filled with disasters, all of which were unleashed upon the world. It said that the one thing that remained in the box was hope. And of course, Pandora as well was a very interesting feature in one of the most recent games I played. Why didn't you tell me? At first I didn't know that you and Hashida were friends. It was really just a coincidence that I gave it to him. And it seemed to me like you were hiding something about Makise. Did you really think I'd tell you everything? It wasn't that I didn't trust you, but I didn't trust you. I thought it best to be cautious when it came to Makise. Yeah, you were right about that. Was letting me test Amadeus part of your plot? Don't call it a plot. You were Makise's friend, and I just wanted to know more about you. To find Makise's secrets. I wanted to know more about her. She glared right back, as if challenging me.
ダルはもう解析したのか。
Has Daru cracked it yet?
まだよ。だからアメリカに帰る前に最後にもう一度あなたと話をしようと思ったの。
Not yet. That's why I wanted to talk to you before I headed back to America. So that's why she brought me here. I need to call Daru right now. And this is obviously a divergence point. If you don't call him, then you don't get anything else.
Hi, もしもし。
Yes? Hello?
今ラボにいるか。
You're at the lab now.
いや、
No.
じゃあどこにいる？
Then where are you?
家で絶賛エロゲ中。どうかしたん？
It happens every chapter, people. It happens every fucking chapter. Every chapter it happens. I am not fucking reading that out.
お前の裏のバイトの件で話がしたい。
I want to talk to you about your part-time job.
あ、あれか。
Oh, that!
なんかマキセ氏の情報を思い出した？
You remember any info on Makasashi?
あ
Yeah. Of course, that was a lie. He could be in danger if I didn't get that laptop back right now. I glanced over at Maho.
じゃあさ、LINE で送ってもらえるかな？
Can you send it over line then?
あ、直接会って話をしよう。ラボで合流できないか。
Let's talk in person. Can you meet me at the lab?
今手が離せないから夕方でもいい？
I'm all tied up right now. Can it wait till evening?
エロゲなんて後でいくらでもできるだろう。
You can play your H games later, man.
さあせん、家でエロゲしてるってのは嘘。実は今バイト中で手が離せないんだよね。
My bad. I actually lied about the H games. I'm actually busy at my job.
バイト？
Your job? Well, I was lying to him too, so I didn't really have room to talk.
じゃあ本当はどこにいる？手が離せないならこっちから行く。とにかく今すぐに話したい。
Okay, where are you really? If you can't leave, I'll come to you. I just need to talk to you right now. If he's with Yuki doing something intimate, leave them alone.
あんまオカリンには教えたくなかったんだけどな。やばげな仕事も多いから。
I really didn't want to tell you. I do a lot of dangerous work.
まあいいや。わかった。これから言うところに来てよ。
Well, whatever, fine. Come to the address I'm about to give you. The location he gave me was still in Akihabara. It was less than 5 minutes away. Down an alley, a few turns off Main Strip, all the hustle and bustle of the crowd completely disappears. We were on the 7th floor of an old mixed-use building. We were in Akihabara, at the centre of Tokyo, in the middle of the day on Sunday, and still the alleyway we'd come in seemed lonely and abandoned. There we found the shop Daru had told us about. Looks like an anime shop of some kind. There was a cute anime-style steel sign on the door that read, Cosplay Media at Akihabara. We're open, come on in. Are we going to find Mayashi here? Hey now, we're in Ikebukuro. I'm in Akihabara. I see. Too bad. Head straight home when you're done shopping. Why? Because I say so. I've got a bad feeling. A premonition? What happened? Oh, no, I mean the weather. I think it might rain. The skies are clear here. Not a cloud in the sky. It's just my intuition. Anyway, just head straight home after you're done shopping.
Okay, got it. Understood. Okay, so what's happening here then? Oh, wow. I've never seen that shop for real. If it exists, I want to find it. It might have a Sailor Jupiter cosplay that fits me. Yeah, that's an image you wanted in your head at this time of night, people. You're welcome. The store was jammed full of cosplay outfits. The wall near the entrance that held the new arrivals corner and popular cosplay sections, as well as cosplay wigs, ribbons, jewellery and props. The other wall held the used outfit section. Used. And a shoe section stocked with socks, school shoes, heels and boots. Even further back, I could see rows of... Yeah, moving on! It looked like the place sold mainly to girls, but this clearly wasn't a location where women would feel comfortable. The other tenants in the building were all shady shops with names like Drops of the Spirit God, Special Radio Receiver Sales, and Flower Petal Video Project.
君はここには来たことが
You ever been here before?
いいえ、前に会った時は別の雑居ビルだったから同じような怪しいお店だったけれど
No. Last time we met it was in a different building. It wasn't much better than this one though.
そうか
I see. I felt like I'd seen Dara's dark side. Oh, I bet you haven't, Okabe. I bet you haven't. The shop was completely silent. There were no customers other than us. There was a thin man with long hair at the counter who looked like he worked there, but he didn't even raise his head up from his magazine when we came in. To be honest, ever since I'd entered, I'd worried that someone would think I was up to something illegal. What, going to a cosplay shop's illegal? Anybody who saw me would think I was a pervert taking a middle school to a shady cosplay shop. I can kind of see his point, but it's not exactly truth. But yeah, I know where he's coming from.
Oi, Okarin, こっち.
Hey, Okarin, over here! Daru appeared from the back of the shop. There had been no sign of him a second ago.
つうか、マホタンも一緒だったんだね。
Wait, Maotan's with you too, huh?
そのマホタンというのやめてくれないかしら
Would you stop calling me Mahotan?
なんで？かわいいじゃん。
Why? It's cute.
バカにされている気分だわ
I feel like I'm being insulted.
そんなことよりダルお前どこから出てきた
Forget that. Where did you come from, Daru? The man at the counter hadn't said anything, which meant they knew he was here.
とりあえずこっち。
Come with me. Daru headed to the back of the store. One of the rows of hanger racks holding idol cosplay outfits was pulled forward, and behind it I could see a curtain. Past the curtain was a tiny space that led to a door marked Staff Only. Oh? If the hanger rack hadn't been moved, I'd have had no idea this was here. And this is going to be really crazy. You don't hide those kind of doors unless you have a very good fucking reason to.
まるで忍者屋敷ね
It's like an old ninja mansion. Behind the door was a cramped office, and oh my god, look at all the figures on here. All the Upas, all the anime, all the VCRs, and a 6th screen including a CRT. It's a very well used hacking station. Well, no, the room itself may have been pretty big, but the darkness made it feel very cramped. It was honestly hard to breathe. There were 4 desks in the centre surrounded by metal racks. The desks and floor were piled high with all manner of computers and peripherals. There were boxes and bags littered everywhere. I couldn't tell if they were trash or not. Also, did you like the fact that they had Coca-Cola bottles then? They even had the short-lived Coca-Cola Life, if any of you remember that.
There were towers of magazines, games, plastic models and figure boxes. And the desk was covered in garbage just like the one at the lab. It was too dark to tell, but I was sure the figurines he had on display were covered in dust. And what did he need 6 monitors for anyway? Yep, see, you can see it right there. There's the Coca-Cola can. Right there. Each of them displayed an image of the store. Evidently it was footage from a security camera. Given the size of the store and the lack of customers, even 3 cameras would have been too many.
ま、適当に座って。
Well, sit down, I guess.
座れる場所なんてないぞ。
There's no place to sit down.
今スペース作るよ。
I'll make you a space. Dara kicked aside the boxes on the floor to make room, then set down 2 folding chairs.
お前、この店とはどういう関係なんだ？
What's the deal with you in this shop?
バイトリーダーみたいなもんかな。結構こういうアングラな店のバイト掛け持ちしてるんだよね。
I'm kinda like the leader of us part-timers. I work for a lot of underground places like this.
でさ、たまに事務所を個人的に使わせてもらってるわけ。
And so sometimes they let me use their offices like this.
裏のバイトのためにか？
For your secret job?
そういうこと。
Yep. Maybe there was a lot more to Daru than I thought.
ここにあるものは全部お前の私物か？
Is all this stuff in here yours?
いや、他のバイトのみんなとの共有財産的なやつ。さすがにこんなにたくさん買えるほどお金持ってないし。
No, it's shared with all the rest of the part-timers. I don't have enough money to buy all this stuff. Well, so he said. But who knew if that was true? I'll call from Amadeus. What does she want?
なんだ？
What is it?
あんたまだ真帆先輩と一緒よね。
You're still with Maho, right?
おう、一緒だが。
Oh, yeah. We're together. Why?
どうかしたの？
What's that?
レスキネン教授からたった今聞いたんですが、
I just heard from Dr. Leskinen.
和光市のオフィスが何者かに荒らされたって。
The office in Wako City's been ransacked by someone.
え？
What?
あと真帆先輩のホテルからも連絡が来て、そっちも誰かに侵入されたみたいです。
And he just got a call from Maho's hotel. Someone raided it too.
なんですって？
What did you say?
すぐにレスキネン教授からも連絡があるはずですけど、少しでも早く知らせた方がいいと思って。
You should hear from Dr. Leskinen soon, but I wanted to tell you ASAP.
ありがとうクリス。
Thanks, Makase.
ヒアジョーさんのことは俺とダルで見てるから大丈夫だ。
Daro and I are looking out for Hyajo, so don't worry.
そうね。頼むわ。それじゃ。
That's right. I'm counting on you guys. Bye. Maho looked down and bit her lip.
懸念していたことが現実になったな。
This is what I was afraid would happen.
狙いは間違いなくクリスのノート PC とハードディスクだ。
They're after Marcus's laptop and hard drive.
え、マジで？
Huh? Seriously?
場所を変えた方がいいかもしれない。
We should probably move.
ここは安全だと思うけど。
I think this place is safe though.
なんとなく嫌な予感がするんだ。勘みたいなものだ。
I've got a bad feeling. Intuition, you could call it.
わかったお。
Got it.
それでノート PC とハードディスクはどこに？
Oh, and where is the laptop and hard drive? Darius sighed and grabbed the locked, fire-resistant case off one of the racks. He opened it. Is that where he hid it? The laptop was a deep red Japanese model with a 12-inch LCD screen. The hard drive was American, from a brand known for equipping its hard drives with shock-resistant rubber cases.
それを持って急いで出よう。
Let's take it and get out of here. Both Maho and Daru nodded silently. As soon as we left the building, I could see a car coming down the empty alleyway. It was a big American RV. We quickly hid ourselves in the shadow of another building. My intuition was right.
The RV stopped in front of the building we just left. 3 men came out. None of them were Japanese. They were all dressed in black suits, almost like MIBs. Oh god, not the fucking movie MIB, for fuck's sake. Please tell me that's not what it is. Yep, it is. The American urban legend about getting after... Yep, and then my bad, of course. Often used as part of the phrase of bad lol to take the piss. In other words, sorry not sorry. Whatever they weren't Akihabara tourists. Well, not if they were the MIBs, they wouldn't be. I've been to Akihabara, and Akihabara tourists definitely don't look like that. That was close. Maho went pale when she saw the men go inside the building. She seemed to be shaking a little too.
This is like a movie. I can't believe it's real.
でもさ、あの連中は店の情報どうやって入手したんだろう。
How'd they find out about that place, though?
誰がヘマしたんじゃないのか。
You sure you didn't screw up somehow, Daru?
僕を誰だと思ってる？
Who do you think I am?
スーパーハッカーだろ。
A super hacker, right?
ハッカーな。足はつかないように注意してるっつうの。
Hacker, right. I make sure I don't get caught.
または俺とヒヤジョーさんが尾行されてた可能性もあるが。
Either that, or Hyajo and I were tailed.
怖いこと言わないでよ。
Don't scare me! 和光市のオフィスやホテルだって荒らされたんだ。ヒヤジョーさんがずっとマークされていたのは間違いない。
They raided your office and hotel room in Wako City. I'm sure they've been watching you this entire time.
あ、そうだわ。
Oh, right.
Maho seemed to suddenly remember something. She took out her smartphone and made a call.
教授に連絡しないと。
I need to contact the professor.
今日はどこかに身を隠すと伝えておいた方がいい。教授と合流すると、教授にまで危険が及ぶかもしれない。
You should tell him to hide somewhere for today. If we meet up with him, it could put him in danger. Maho nodded. And that is a segue to, yep, hiding at Ferris Nyanyan's. And well, we've come close to the 4-hour mark, much later than I anticipated, to say the least. I wanted to get through this as quick as I could, and well, that's not kind of worked, has it? So, with that in mind, we are going to be back on Friday evening at 8 PM GMT for more of this chapter. We've gone a bit crazy, we've crossed a couple of world lines, and we've attracted the attention of the men in black. Can this game get any more weird? We'll find out then, but until then, thank you all very, very much for watching, and good night.